Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to another amazing episode of T3PO Live. That was a very interesting intro, now wasn't it? Yeah, get into the season's spirit here with a little bit of creepiness there. Well, maybe you can consider that as. It's interesting because that intro that you just saw right there, completely custom rendered just for this show and hopefully the network. We'll have to see what the rollout on that will actually be like in the coming days. But, it was so good. It took like 2 weeks to render, it took 2 months to develop that whole thing. So I felt, well, you know what? Let's go ahead and just run it for this portion of the entire month. That way, all you at home can see it in its absolute glory on a repeated basis until we get to the month of probably November, and then we'll go ahead and retire that. So hopefully you like that intro. We're doing some interesting stuff. Also got to do background here for the month. So hopefully you like the show, like the broadcast. Thank you so much for coming on in. Ken Reinhardt in the chat already there. Love it. Oh, I do apologize. My name is VashSky. I'm going to be your host for today's festivities right here. Let's go ahead and get some comments on the screen. Yeah, Top Thrill 2, Ken Reinhardt. Yeah, that's, still broke. Perhaps it's the Siren's Curse. That is an interesting story right there. Usually that's a story that we would cover on Theme Park Universe with my good friend Theme Park Wizard over there. Siren's Curse opening up one of the largest tilt. There is a model name for it. It's like a tilt attraction, tilt drop tower. I forgot the precise name of it, but in North America, it's definitely one of the largest, and you don't really see a lot of tilt coasters actually on this side of the ocean, which is quite fascinating of a thing. And it's being added to what is already a very stacked park in Cedar Point there, so that's pretty cool. But yes, Top Thrill 2 still down. Probably not going to come back for the 2025 season, which is very most unfortunate. I like the intro. Yes, I like the intro too. Very much appreciated, Kiki and Luca. I do see that you're usually a regular over there at Barry Plays 28. I do appreciate you giving us a shot over here on T3PO Live. We should have some people joining me in the hour here, but well, before they get here, let's go ahead and take you through to today's stories, starting with, well, we have to start out with Hurricane Milton. Now, it's kind of interesting because, well, didn't it make landfall, last week? Yes, it did. But there has been a tremendous amount of damage actually done. Not obviously to the state, which is, that goes without saying, but actually in the Central Florida region itself, specifically with Walt Disney World, more than I had expected, and that's why we're covering it here today. I'll go ahead and get this on screen right here. This is from blog, I'm sorry, not blog, Mickey. What am I saying? Mickey Views. See, when I see Mickey in the news, I instantly say blog. I should not do that. Braden is excellent over there at Mickey Views, just doing tremendous stuff with both the site, the Twitter handle, and also the YouTube channel, which can probably go into a little bit more depth than we can actually cover here. We'll go ahead and cover it for you guys, so that way you are informed as much as possible. Disney World Resort hotels damaged due to Hurricane Milton. Walt Disney World Resort theme parks and Disney Springs are closed today as Disney assesses damage from Hurricane Milton. The Category 2 hurricane passed within just 30 miles south-southwest of Walt Disney World during the 1 a.m. hour last night. Winds on the backside of the storm over the following hour produced winds with gusts of 86 miles per hour in the Walt Disney World area, higher than anything recorded during Irma or even Ian. With the sun rising over Florida, Walt Disney World personnel are on site mitigating overnight effects from the storm. Walt Disney World plans to reopen its parks tomorrow, and indeed they did. And they have been getting back to normal operations slowly but surely, which is pretty good there. You can see though, the resort wasn't unscathed, and that's kind of what surprises me the most about all this, is just how much damage was actually done to not just various areas around Walt Disney World, but Walt Disney World properties themselves. Also, how many trees actually went down. And Mickey Views has done a pretty good job at cataloging as many photos as possible. You can actually see right there the Grand Flow, which recently had its roof redone as part of a big refurbishment project that's been taking place with the Grand Floridian. This lasted, I want to say, the last couple of years, and they did do a number of different refurbishments and rehabs to the roof structure, the roof line, all of that. But unfortunately, it hasn't been contending as well as I think Walt Disney World would have thought. You can also see here, Caribbean Beach Resort, whole side of the facade ripped off. I mean, that's pretty extraordinary. I've not seen that before associated with hurricane damage and Walt Disney World, so it's definitely notable here. You can see some light posts. Oh, man. You know, the tough thing about something like that is that was probably like a custom fixture right there. Walt Disney World Resort probably spent a tremendous amount of money actually putting that up originally. So to see that knocked down, that is a real shame there. This here looks to be at the Swan. Down trees on the side there. All over Walt Disney World property, you're seeing damage. Obviously some dirt and some ponds and so forth. Again, more down trees and all of that. If we go along here, this wasn't just limited to the Walt Disney World Resort as a whole, like the resort properties, but actually damage actually occurred within the parks themselves. You can see some shingles here that have been upturned and damaged on the Main Street facades. There, it looks at the end of Main Street. Tough stuff. Not good at all. Also, too, the Tree of Liberty. Talking about down trees, the Tree of Liberty over there in Liberty Square on the west side of Magic Kingdom was also damaged, which is a real shame. Still standing, but you can see right there, this, I believe, I don't even know what the exact age of the Tree of Liberty is because it was an old growth tree when it was transplanted and installed for the opening of Magic Kingdom back in October 1st of 1971. So I don't even know how old it is, but I would think it's around 60 years old, if not older. You can just see just how much damage was actually done. My goodness gracious. Not good. We also have some stuff that maybe you hadn't seen before online. These pictures were actually sent to us on Thursday, but we couldn't incorporate them into that park place. I'm showing you here. You can see this is the Animal Kingdom Lodge. Sorry, it just came to me. Animal Kingdom Lodge here along those pathways next to the savannah. You can see right there. Starts out, not so bad, and it gets a little worse, obviously, with just how large the trees that were actually downed. And it gets real bad here with the pavement and the asphalt actually being upended there. Not good. That's going to take a lot of work in order to make right. And you can just see just the roots. The whole root structure was upended, and major winds affecting all of Walt Disney World Resort property. A lot more down trees, everything like that. Not so good. Also, too, Celebration near Walt Disney World also experiencing a lot of damage. Remember, this was part of Walt Disney World property until it was annexed, when the Walt Disney Company looked at this and said, you know what? We don't actually want to incorporate Celebration into Walt Disney World. With the Rudy Creek Improvement District, I don't know if we should be creating a city of tomorrow that would empower the residents of said city with voting rights over how Walt Disney World actually conducts its own business. So that was sold off, annexed from Walt Disney World property, but you can just see just how devastating some of this stuff is. Not so good there. And look, I mean, this is tough stuff, as you can probably surmise. I believe Bazinga has an estimate. This is even before this damage was actually cataloged. Following the storm making landfall there in the Central Florida region, Disney faces $150 to $200 million blow from Hurricane Milton. Attendance set to drop 6%, says Goldman Sachs. And this article actually was published soon after that. Disney lost $547 million to hurricanes. Here's the calculation. This in the Business Journal here. This is talking about hurricanes for the entire span of time that Walt Disney World has been around. So for some 50 years or so. And then you can add on this to that, because I don't think it's actually reflected in that official estimate right there. And not good. But you know what is also not good about this story? Disney has been experiencing heat lately over how they've conducted themselves in terms of the optics, let's say. And that's the thing too that's been affected here. When you look at the hurricane, it's not just the damages to property itself, but it's also to the reputation. You can see right here, if you do a Google search for, Comcast donates hurricane, you can see a list of donations that Comcast has actually made to Hurricane Milton, I believe Hurricane Helene as well, looking to donate anything they can towards the recovery efforts of people that have been affected by these hurricanes. And it's great. It's awesome. You can see this right here. PR Newswire, Comcast opens 261,000 free Xfinity Wi-Fi hotspots across Florida ahead of Hurricane Milton's arrival. That way, the company ensures as many people as possible stay connected. Fair enough. That's all good. That's all great. I love that. Then you look at Disney, and you just type in Disney donates to hurricane. And you can see right here, Taylor Swift there for some reason. Not sure what's going on there. But the last time they donated to any hurricane whatsoever, at least according to these results, was back in 2019. With, let's see, Hurricane Dorian. Nothing really in the news there about Disney donating anything towards hurricane relief efforts across the state. That's a weird thing. And also, too, the bad news doesn't stop there. You can see right here from the Independent. Disney Resort faces backlash after charging guests stranded by Hurricane Milton for sandwich kits. Indeed, instead of setting up Wi-Fi hotspots like Comcast did with Xfinity, I understand. They're an ISP, so they have the infrastructure to do that. Outside of, I don't know, giving rooms away or something like that, there were a number of things that they possibly could have done to mitigate the effects of Milton on the residents in Central Florida. Instead of doing all that, they decided, well, we're just going to go ahead and charge for these sandwich kits. And these sandwich kits are composed of one jar of peanut butter, one jar of jelly, and I think a loaf of bread as well. And how much is that? Well, it's $10. $10 for people staying on Walt Disney World Resort property. It's not to say that Disney didn't do anything for the hurricane. They did actually waive some cancellation fees associated with canceling your resort stay. Let's say if you were if you were wanting to stay on property and perhaps your vacation was going to be impacted by Hurricane Milton in some way, or maybe you couldn't get down there because of the airport entirely closing. Hey, great stuff. You can actually go ahead and cancel your Walt Disney World vacation within a period of time that was tighter than within the 24, 48 hour period, something like that, where you would incur a cancellation fee. They're going to waive that fee. All good stuff. But, charging for sandwich kits, not actually donating towards any, donating any of your capital or efforts towards hurricane relief, not so good. But you know what is good? Well, it's Lou Wasserman's Ghost. What is going on, good sir?
Well, it's funny. I just came from them other guys, and they were getting to the $50 cake issue or whatever at that cake bake place.
Yes.
I think their peanut butter and jelly sandwich was like $18. So this is price, although
deal.
Your own bread, I guess, right?
Yeah, well, you get a
limited time a whole loaf bonus and a special price. Wow. The generosity of this company never ceases to amaze me. That's because it never amazes me. It
is so true. And I just wonder, you couldn't give away these things for free. Now, I know they've done this in the past where they've charged for these sandwich bags, so this isn't necessarily a new phenomenon. But Milton was supposed to be it was a pretty bad hurricane. There was a lot of to do about it. And a lot of people impacted, a lot of people taking up shelter and residence at Walt Disney World, a lot of companies donating potentially hundreds of millions of dollars towards hurricane relief efforts. You couldn't throw one in. I'm just surprised.
Well, and let's wait. We joke about these silly prices and all the rest of it, but let's point out that if Disney was the kind of place that you and I woke up this morning and said, what are we doing this weekend? Well, I don't know. Well, you want to go to Disney? Sure, let's go. It would be forgivable, maybe. But the fact that the victims of this particular tiny little piece of the whole hurricane picture are not doing something stupid like, I'm going to ride out the storm in my underwear, or not building a house in a place known to blow houses down. They're just plain people. But because it's Disney, they have to have made these plans months and even years in advance in order to get in certain dates and whatever. And they find out, whoops, Mother Nature didn't read my itinerary and decided to screw it up. It's not your fault. It's not Disney's fault that they built this place in a highly hurricane-prone area. It's just life. But the idea that, well, this huge upheaval to this $10,000 family vacation or more, you know how we're going to help? We're going to give you a sandwich for only X number of dollars. Not
only
even give
$10.
And then we will try and tell you, hey, it's a special deal we're doing. We are. I mean, just the sheer arrogance of that.
It's ridiculous. Well, you know what?
Give me the sandwich. Don't tell me what a great deal it is. You know? I mean, I appreciate the sandwich. I'll eat a good PB. In fact, you may not know this.
Ooh.
In fact, I'm sure you don't. Once upon a time, I was the co-owner and creator of a thing called the PBJ of the Month Club, where every month we sent you a different jar of peanut butter and a jar of jelly that were special or unique or different. It was very popular. A big magazine. I can't think of the name of it now.
Simple.
What's it?
Simple.
They picked us as one of their number one Christmas gifts. So I bow to nobody over the delights of peanut butter and jelly. But at a special bonus hurricane price.
Wild.
What, you know that old expression, don't blow in my ear and tell me that it's raining or whatever it is? Some variation on that.
There's a variation.
People wouldn't
of that,
like.
yeah.
Well,
Yep.
that's what this is. Life imitating art or something like that, right?
Well,
Anyway.
you know how life imitates art, Lou, and I'm so glad you brought this up. Here's the sign that they hung up. Let's see.
wow.
This is from July 1st, 2024 for Gianna's Bayou Adventure. Isn't it great? It's bright. It's colorful. It's all of that. It's better than the poster that they first put out for the attraction. Well, after the hurricane, didn't actually do so well. So that right there is life.
Well, they'll put it back with a
imitating art.
tagline that says, "The ride that'll blow you away." It's so wonderful. It'll
Absolutely
shatter to
fantastic.
tatters all of your previous expectations for a great theme park ride, right?
Exactly.
Boy.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah.
And,
that's
or
the
a
thing,
thing
too.
that says, "Still open despite hurricane. We're all right. How's Bayou?"
Yeah, how's Bayou?
Yeah,
Indeed.
Well, oh boy.
We're going to be checking in on the Bayou in just a little moment right here, but I love this comment.
There you go.
There, my son has a peanut allergy, and that's not to make light of your son, but it is one of those things where that's the only thing that they're actually offering for you in terms of food at these Walt Disney World resort
Well,
destinations and
for
so forth because they don't have the
$50, let 'em eat
staff.
cake.
I guess so.
But you know the thing
Yes.
I was talking about when we were talking about the cake just now over at the other side.
Hmm.
What if you want to buy one of those cakes at the insane price of $200 or whatever it is that feeds 8 supposedly? What if you want to do it in the store? And what if it's your kid's birthday and they charge you by the candle? You're going to stop doing that real quick as the kid gets a little older because the cost of the extra candles at Disney prices is going to price you out of doing the party. I mean,
Indeed.
this is so silly. And yet, as much as we can exaggerate expectations, that's what will happen for real. That's what will
It is.
happen for real. Oh, you wanted, with your $23 slice of cake, you wanted a candle? Well, that's only an extra $17. And by the way, if you want it lit, we have a pyrotechnically approved special employee with a Zippo lighter who for an extra $17 will light the candle. And blowing it out, we had to go to Imagineering and come up with a special fan. And by the way, if you liked our popcorn buckets, where do you see our cake slice buckets? The collector's items, you know, because if you're going to spend that much money, you must be a collector.
That cake bake shop story, I tell you what, that is like the ultimate just, I don't know, a finger in the eye.
They had apparently now the whole world is catching up with it. The story they used, you know, to key the segment was from Fox Business.
Wild. Yeah, I have
Okay.
seen some nationals. Daily Mail actually covered it as well.
Yeah. But I mean, if it's the business specialists who are covering it, it's bad business.
That's a good point. It's a good point right there.
Anyway,
Well,
it's like I
well,
said, life imitating art, or vice versa. Indeed.
indeed. Well, coming to our next story right here, we have again more news from Walt Disney World.
Oh God.
Mickey views Big Thunder Mountain closing for massive 1-year refurbishment. This is kind of big news right here because obviously this is a high capacity attraction. When the landmark e-tickets for this entire park right here going down for a 1-year refurbishment, and apparently it's not doing as much as people think. I know Pro covered this a little bit on his show. Just want to go ahead and cover it a little bit more in depth here because there's some additional information that people might not be aware of. Walt Disney World Park operations has just confirmed a long rumored overhaul to the Big Thunder Mountain Railroad at Magic Kingdom Park. The attraction will close on January 6, 2025, and will reopen in 2026 with some big changes. Official statement.
Wait, it says big changes, and then in the subhead it says a little bit of new magic.
yes, exactly. Big Thunder Mountain Railroad were temporarily closed for refurbishment on January 6, 2025. The attraction will reopen with a little bit of new magic. I think I have a little bit of new magic sound effect right here. There we go. A bit of new magic there in 2026. The rumored upgrades. Here we go. As we previously reported, sources of Mickey Views indicate Big Thunder Mountain is set to receive a track upgrade to improve ride reliability. In the past year, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad has suffered lots of intermittent closures to issues with the ride system. This refurbishment is expected to permanently remedy these issues. Yeah, there's a great video online. I don't know if you've seen, Lou, El Toro Ryan on YouTube.
I haven't seen
He is a fantastic source for all things coasters. Definitely a big coaster enthusiast, but a previous ride operator at some landmark locations like King Ka, El Toro, and so forth over there at Six Flags Great America, if I'm not mistaken, over there in New Jersey. Some good stuff there, but he lends his expertise towards breaking down, attractions all over the country. But that includes Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, and actually all 4 versions of them that currently exist in the world. It's fascinating because if you are not an experienced ride operator operating this theme park attraction, it can cascade actually very quickly if you don't know the ins and outs of how to maintain operations there. So yeah, I mean,
so this is about the track or about the lift mechanism or what?
I do believe it's about the lift mechanism. It's interesting because go ahead.
No, that's what I was speculating. I see. I have the version of Chrome that's on my cell phone has decided what I want to see in the suggested articles is anything to do with theme parks and coasters and stuff.
I see.
There was one week when it was giving me other things that I never looked at and never wanted, but such is life in the computer age. You're looking for a good coaster video, and they show you some girl in tight pants beating up another one in a wrestling ring. What can I tell you? Anyway, but it was 2 guys riding a refurbished coaster somewhere, and they're going up the lift hill, which was a good old-fashioned chain link lift hill, not electromagnetic super dupers. And one is saying to the other, boy, it's faster, isn't it, than it used to be? The other guy, yeah, it's going a lot faster. And sure enough, it was one of the fastest one of these I've ever seen. I don't know where it was. But the way I see this is, first of all, as far as taking a year, not if you have your ducks in a row. This is the theme park analogy or comparable situation to these reshoot movies that cost crazy.
Sure.
Not just remember in money, but in time. When they said it'll be out for this season and then it comes out 2 years later, that costs money. But if they've got all it's not like they're landing on another planet and discovering something called a roller coaster. It's not like they don't have all the engineering stuff from when they built the original one to say, okay, we need a piece of track at this angle and at this, that you could have all the pieces fabricated, ready. And then what does it take? Unscrew bolt, remove old part, put in new part, rescrew bolt. Next. That can't take a year. That cannot take a year. But if you're going to put in a faster lift, what you are doing is increasing ride capacity because you're sending one out of the station that much faster every time. And that appeals to the dollar guys who say, hey, if that has a throughput of 1,300 people an hour and we can make it 1,500 people or 1,600 people, at a certain point, they can figure out how much faster it has to be to pay the freight on the renovation, right?
Right.
And then they can figure out, if they know this is what we're doing and only this, how much it's going to cost, how long it's going to take, and at what point it's worth it to lose the capacity in the meanwhile. But if those dollars and cents, bolts and nuts guys on the technical side of the park announce this is what we can do, and then the touchy-feely guys say, hey, but could you put in an extra scene where a mountain goat is biting on dynamite to blow up the male supremacy? Sure, I guess. And what do you wind up with? You wind up with the history recently of Jungle Cruise, where first they closed it to renovate stuff and never, while they had it down, took out the stuff they found offensive about Trader Sam and rejiggered the Lost Safari. So it's the white guy getting poked in the butt on the. And when they finished all of that, it still had that bridge falling down and those tatters and the. So now we put in another 60 grand or 600 grand or whatever it was. They like six, if you notice, 6 years, 6 billion, six anyway. And when it's open. And what's it open with? Coming soon behind this tatter, a tiger. Honest, someday we'll show it to you. How long do they think that bait and switch is going to go over?
I don't know.
This is just like this, a little bit of magic versus a lot of magic.
Right.
At the point where people are asking, well, how much magic are you going to give me? That's the point where magic becomes devalued. That's the point where magic becomes irrelevant. Same thing with special bonus price peanut butter and jelly. You can't just throw they'll be okay with it. We'll just tell them it's special. They think we know everything we do is special. We're Disney. Yeah. And then they hear the wind and see the tumbleweed rolling down Main Street. Well, for some reason, those people down the road are getting it right. Mm-hmm. This is not about mechanics. This is not about art. This is not about Imagineering or pixie dust. This is about basic business management and the lack thereof.
Yes, it is. And I don't disagree with you at all about that. It is to increase operations. I don't know. Yes, you could retrofit the lift hills in order to be a little bit faster to hopefully improve throughput. It's a little bit problematic with this coaster only because of the block zone diagram and also
that's the other issue. Sure, I understand. Yeah. But all I'm saying is, if there were ways of measuring goodwill to numbers, not just impressions, if there were ways of quantifying lack of throughput when it's shut for a year versus what more we'll get at the other end, and how many years will it take to pay for itself, which, by the way, every business other than theme parks seems to do. All of these people trying to sell you government subsidized solar roofs that'll pay for themselves in the first 10 years on your electric bill or whatever. Everybody else can do that. But we're special. We're oblivious to the laws of business and math and science, and because we're changing the world one opinion at a time. Because look at how much more welcome we are as a tiny sliver of the minority of the population. And look at how much money we're making doing it. Answer, not much at all, maybe losing. But we're Disney, we can't fail. There is no such word as fail to Tom Slick, Bob Iger. You see?
Yeah, no, I know I completely get it. It is really tough when you have these attractions go down for this length of time, and the what you would believe would be done to these attractions in order to take full advantage of those downtimes aren't really necessarily included. Perhaps that changes here. I'm not sure. There have been a lot of rumors that, it's going to get a complete track replacement, not unlike what Disneyland's actually experienced. And given that it opened in 1979, I believe Walt Disney World version opened in 1980 or 1981, somewhere around there. It is obviously much older and probably gets even more use than the Disneyland version does. So it is in need of a track replacement. Will they actually get that? I'm not sure. Disneyland's track replacement took place over, I believe, a 15-month period. I believe that was about a decade ago now.
And it shouldn't have. Like I say, every number you need to know to build a new track and substitute it chunk by chunk, piece by piece. If you're organized, if you have a system, you're putting in new metal, but you're not putting in a new angle or a new
right.
It's Lego. Take out the old blue Lego and put in the new blue Lego. If you've got the new blue Lego already built before you ever say anything about this.
That's a good point.
It really is as far as track replacement.
It is.
Because especially since, unlike some of these parks that over the years have changed hands, like Six Flags is going through now. If they don't have all the old stuff and nobody kept it or people lost it, when a dear friend of mine and yours, the one sitting behind me, was working for Universal, and they merged with another company and they were trying to economize because they didn't need 2 offices in the same city, let's say. Let's consolidate it or whatever. The famous icon of Universal Studios, not the theme park as much, but the studio, was the famous Black Tower where this guy whose face I use on this show used to reign from the top floor. It's about probably about a 12, 15-story building. It's not a super skyscraper. And certainly being in the San Fernando Valley, there aren't a lot of those. When they went into estimating what kind of office space and who could move into that and who could move in, there were no existing drawings or architectural stuff about how much square footage there was in that building, and even no 2 floors of a perfectly square building were on the books as having the same square footage. Because over the years, we'll redo so-and-so's office, give him another 12 square feet. Over the years, we'll lessen that elevator lobby because we're going to put a less face forward to the public department on that floor or whatever. And the same square building never had 2 floors that officially or even consecutively over the years had the same square footage. If that was the case with something like this, well, we don't know. The previous management made the deal with Mac for the coaster, and then somebody else that would be understandable. But this has been Disney's baby since day one, and they should know better. And if they can't, using that Lego example, do it that way and not announce it until it's ready, spend the money on building all those pieces, having them sitting there staged and ready to insert the way we see when we watch these bioreconstruct shots of Epic. And you see all the pieces sitting there of the track before they start putting them in. Who do they think they're kidding?
Yeah, no, it's
I'm going too far with this, but I'm just trying to put people who are in everyday jobs and everyday businesses in the mindset of, you have a property and you want to do this to it. How do you go about it? What makes sense? How long should it take?
Yep.
And nothing makes sense about how Disney does this stuff anymore. Nothing.
It really does not. And
whether it's movies or theme parks or anything else, or how many toys we're going to have for the next Star Wars thing, or
I'll say this.
They just
it's all over the shop, and we covered on the last show there Captain America 4, the plot leaks that came out recently, and you just read it and it's just dreadful. And yet we're going to spend over $500 million maybe on that production because of how many reshoots and so forth that have gone with that. I'll say this about Big Thunder Mountain.
This is our process and why the movies are so great. And if the movies were that great, if they were the greatest movies ever made, in the entire history of the 100 years of this company and of the business, they still couldn't pay for themselves. And if they can't do that, you can't do it. You know, I think I told you I was there when they opened the original Fantasmic, the press event. And Eisner at one of the press conferences was asked repeatedly about a second gate in Anaheim back when they still were thinking.
Right.
And what was going to happen to the strawberry field and all the rest of that.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, you know, I love this company and I'm proud to be part of the legacy of Walt, but I'm in a totally different position as the boss than Walt was. I have to preserve what's here and protect what's here from something new wiping out everything.
That's true.
Walt didn't do that. He probably should have, but nobody knew what it was going to become. And he had Roy to say, wait a minute, we can't go that far. He says, it's a different world with something established, with a brand, with a face to the world, with an obligation to live up to a tradition. And you can't just say, well, Walt would have done it. Different world. And Walt would never have spent $400 million on a movie. Period. Period.
That's a very good point. Right
to tell him, hold your horses there, fella. That's a little too far to go.
Well, let me go ahead and finish off this story right here.
Yeah, sure. But the proof of it, just to mention, is Alice.
Yeah.
Where they threw out a bunch of stuff that they did. And I think it happened on a couple of the others in those days too. Mm-hmm. Before they ever got around to animating every frame and ink and painting every, they looked at it, they said, this is what we thought was good. You know, it really doesn't work, guys. Let's back up a little. Anyway.
Indeed.
Go ahead.
In addition to what is rumored to happen, which we believe is kind of a partial track replacement. Now, there were like ADA changes that were made to Disneyland's Big Thunder as part of its whole replacement. I think they also replaced a lot of Rainbow Ridge and so forth. We don't expect much of that to be occurring, if at all, here. But additionally, sources indicate overhaul plans include adding explosion effects to Walt Disney World's Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. This effect, found in other iterations of the attraction, both at Paris and at Disneyland in Anaheim, was previously planned for as an attraction enhancement for Walt Disney World's 50th anniversary. The project was shelved by then CEO Bob Chapek in March of 2020. This version of the effect, allegedly green-lit, will not be exactly the same as the versions found in Disneyland. The source indicates Walt Disney World's version may be value engineered, although further specifics were not provided. Perhaps that's the little bit of magic that we're talking about.
I have a question, Mr. Expert, as a dummy.
Please.
Is value engineered the same thing as special bonus price?
Yeah.
Are we doing the same thing to this artificial mountain as we did to the peanut butter sandwiches?
Oh, wow.
And when the annual report comes out, will it turn out that we spent $50 cake prices on a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
Yeah, I don't know if it's all of that, but value engineered usually in the Imagineering context is you start out with something great and then you water it down.
But value, it's like the hotel categories, right?
Right.
It's a value. It's a special bonus value for these 3 weeks only. When nobody goes, you can go when nobody goes too, and only spend a tiny fraction less than they do. Are we good to you or what?
Oh man, it's so terrible. We all also have been hearing about rumors about sinkhole issues around Big Thunder. Been trying to track that report down. A source actually came to me with some of that information. Said that a Big Thunder refurbishment was being planned and in the works. I haven't confirmed that part of the story, but something about this refurbishment is a little bit odd, especially if it doesn't include a complete track replacement, which we don't think will happen. Maybe partial, but not complete. Also, too, Ken Reithart actually talked about it before, but when there is a section of the track, I believe it's just right after the earthquake scene, where there's a block zone, but the coaster, when it is stopped, can actually restart under its own power. It has to be wenched in place and then restarted, so that leads to enhanced downtime as well. Perhaps they'll be adjusting those block zones and be reducing that downtime, because obviously that will hurt your daily capacity.
I have a question that suddenly came to mind. Never occurred to me about this before.
Please.
Are some of these issues which might impinge on safety things that would have been grandfathered in under Reedy Creek and aren't under SIFTOD? In other words, when this is all said and done, and we go to that projected by Andrew $1 trillion expense over 10 years of that whole political fracas, will this become part of that by proxy?
Yeah, I guess
would it be something
that
well, we want to do it for what we can do it for, value engineer it, but we had to do it a little better than value because we couldn't grandfather it in under the old rules.
That's an interesting
just
idea.
A possibility. I just, I don't want us to lose track as we go into those 10 years of how many things that don't sound like they're connected to that are caused by that and therefore go on that tab.
Yeah, I would.
Me, but
Well, no, I think it's a good question for sure. That could be possibly added to that tab. At least maybe enhanced costs associated with it. I'll say this: I think this whatever problems that they're encountering at Big Thunder, I think were exacerbated by the fact that they've had to train a lot of green crew members and so forth that maybe don't know the tricks to operating that attraction as efficiently as it possibly can, and so they've had to take action in order to.
Or even if there's one little spot where you gotta throttle the speed a little because if it hits too hard, it vibrates, and over time that vibration causes degradation of the structural stability of the machine.
Yeah,
and all the old timers knew back it off a little as we get into this block.
Right. Or you can force things through and it won't cascade. And like I said, I'll tow around gets into some of that. But
and by the way, for those of you out there who don't understand about the terminology of the mechanics of roller coasters, give them 10 seconds on what a block brake is so they understand.
Yeah. A block zone or a block brake is the mechanism by which you keep two coaster trains that are traveling on the same track at the same time apart from each other. So you can how do you prevent them from actually colliding into each other? Well, you have a series of zones by which you can forcibly, if you have to, stop either one or both of them to keep them apart. So that's what a block zone is. And so when you have
momentum,
right?
Yeah, there's motors to get them to the top. But from the top down, there's no motor speeding them along in most cases.
Correct. All gravity driven.
On gravity. And so what happens if there's something at the bottom that shouldn't be there? You got to have a way to block that section from intrusion from the other sections.
Right, because if a train intrudes on a block zone currently occupied by another train, well, that's no good, and that's where you get those block breaks, is what Lou was talking about before. So the block zones associated with these coasters, especially older ones, are fickle beasts. Go ahead.
And what you just said about the section, once you block it, remember, if you're stopping it in a way that it wasn't planned to be stopped when everything's running well, how do you start it again? You don't have a lift hill there. You have to have it so it stops. So it is stopped, but still in a downhill position so that when you release that brake, it'll keep rolling and get back up to speed someplace.
Right.
But what he just said was that there was one where, you could stop it if you had to. But if you want to start it again, you had to winch it up to the top of the next hill, not in a way that's normally done, in order to have the gravity to have it keep moving. Well, that would spoil your day as an operator and as a passenger. So better than getting hit by another car from behind, but still.
Of course.
Anyway.
No,
because if the vehicle,
right,
whatever it is, has its own power, just like you, after you come to a stop at an intersection, you got to put the gas on to get moving. I remember back years and years ago, God, it's got to be about a year or two after Epcot opened, being at the Transportation and Ticket Plaza and kibitzing with the kids starting up the monorail in the morning, and them talking about something called a MAPO check. Now, for those who don't know, the division of Imagineering involved in safety was called MAPO. And no, for those of you old enough to remember, it isn't that maple-flavored version of cream of wheat that used to be existent. It's short for Mary Poppins because it's your nanny taking care of you, making sure you're safe while you're playing, right? That was fun.
Sure.
And what it was basically collision avoidance radar. It was, they would bring out the first train, park it in the station, bring the next color monorail up behind it real slow till it automatically shut itself off and put the brakes on. To make sure that it wouldn't happen by accident. And then they would move on and the next one would come behind and they do that every morning when they started it up. Well, same idea. But the difference there being Once you've come to the stop, you can say, okay, fine, let me step on the gas and keep it moving. Roller coasters don't do that unless gravity is involved. All right, enough on roller coasters. Anyway.
Indeed. No, you're spot on there.
I just thought the average person out there who didn't understand what a block brake was should get a concept of how these things.
That's a fair point. I probably should have described that in more detail. So I'm glad you got that out of me, and hopefully you are more informed about how this coaster works. Very interesting. And by the way, go to El Toro's YouTube channel, see his Big Thunder video. You will be pleasantly surprised by what you find there. Speaking of attractions going away, delayed, all of that, not the greatest segue in the world, but we do have a story out of Scott Gooston right here that just broke pretty recently. New Disney says the debut of Little Mermaid, a musical adventure theatrical production at Disney's Hollywood Studios, has been moved from fall 2024 to summer 2025. Work is expected to begin in the next few weeks to remove the old show marquee. That's very interesting. You can see some Imagineers actually working on some puppets and so forth, and some concept art, all that.
Do we think a version of this will go in the Hyperion in California?
That's an interesting idea. Ooh, that's something.
It's been sitting there waiting for a show for how long?
Well, since Rogers the Musical left, that was last year around this time.
I wonder if they actually did like a basic focus group thing to see how many people out there knew what Captain America's real name was before they named it Rogers the Musical. I mean, what? Roy Rogers is now a Disney property? I mean, there was such bad marketing. Well, the best example of that kind of bad marketing, I don't know how many of you ever saw the movie Remo Williams, The Adventure Begins, with Fred Ward and Joel Grey as this famous assassin, secret agent, whatever. It came from a series of books called The Destroyer. The Destroyer has over 150 pulp novels in the series. They've been translated into 83 languages and sold, I don't know how many million copies they started in the 60s, I guess. And you're going to make a movie, finally, of this huge IP that the world knows and loves and keeps asking for more. It isn't like we know and love the 6 books. 150 books, all under the name Destroyer. And you make the movie and you call it what? Remo Williams, The Adventure Begins? Oops.
Tough.
Well, that was always struck me about Rogers, the musical. But anyway, that's a side point. Point is, they built this expensive, what is it, 3,000 seats? Something like that?
1,800.
All right, but a whole
95.
lot of seats for a show that, how long do those shows run that are in there? 30, 40, 50 minutes?
45. Yeah, 50.
So that's 45 minutes of 1,000 or 1,500 people not standing in line for all the other rides.
Absolutely.
Which is worth a lot to them as far as how many people can we put through the park in a day who are all paying admission, buying Coca-Cola, maybe even an expensive cupcake or cookie. And it's been sitting empty because they couldn't find a show for it.
We will be talking about that more, Lou, because it's a pet peeve of mine. I am so upset about it.
That's why I brought it up. But anyway, The Little Mermaid is going to go. To me, the fact that Be Our Guest, or whatever they called the stage version, that when the park opened and ever since has been on everybody who knows about its bucket list. I don't know what else we're going to do there. Maybe Tower of Terror or whatever, but we got to see the Little Mermaid show. Because that happened before Disney was doing these Broadway versions of the shows. Right. That both played in New York for huge ticket prices and ran around the country and around the world, really.
Yeah, I don't think they started getting into Broadway seriously up until Beauty and the Beast, Lion King. That was 92, 93,
I was going to say 94. Lion King was really the first one to be a mega hit.
Right.
So,
but that was long after the park opened, long after The Little Mermaid was added.
Which was an opening day attraction, as far as I remember, right?
Oh, really?
I think so.
Know that.
Well, that theater was built for that show.
Well, a lot of people are thinking that the delay here might have to do something with the theater, its location and proximity to the animation courtyard, and maybe what's in store for that later on. Some people are saying that Muppets are safe. We're talking about, obviously, the Monsters Inc. land that was recently announced at the last D23 during the Parks panel presentation. And we've been speculating on where that actually might go, whether it be the Animation Courtyard, Indiana Jones is also too in the mix there, or maybe the Muppets. Well, people are saying that maybe this has to do with that. I'm not quite sure about that specific portion of that, but I figured I would share it with you. The official statement here, included by Scott Gustin, update on Little Mermaid Musical Adventure. As we continue to look forward to the Little Mermaid Musical Adventure at Disney's Hollywood Studios, we are taking the next steps in filing permits for an all-new marquee. Work on the exterior of the building will begin soon in preparation for the premiere of this fully reimagined show in summer of 2025. We look forward to sharing more details on this exciting new experience soon. How many wonders can one cavern hold? What's a fire and why does it burn? When will a stage show return to the Animation Courtyard Theater at Disney's Hollywood Studios? All valid questions, one of which I can't wait to dive into. Yes, they say a fully reimagined theatrical production, so it's going to be different from the original, but it will be based on the animated film and not the 2023 live action.
Wait. I mean, they're
bomb
spending
there.
money to put in a new show, and they're not going to base it on the flop version.
No.
I'm shocked. There's hope for Disney yet.
Wow, isn't that impressive? Now, Lou, if you've been keeping track of the story, this was the production, though, where they said that people who could pass as gender for either Ariel or Eric can be added to the cast, not necessarily say that you have to be the gender.
You know, my evil mind is rewriting the lyrics to some of the songs right now.
Yes.
And those, what do you call them? Boobs? I want to be where the people are. The people who live in WeHo. It's the abbreviation for West Hollywood.
I see. I see. Yeah. There has been some controversy surrounding this show ever since the cast, not list, but not the call sheet. What is that called? The casting call sheet was revealed for this. So, it's one to watch, but we here at That Park Place want to keep you informed of what's going on and what the rumors are suggesting there. Maybe
whatever they do
maybe it's
in
not,
that department, Mazel Tov, I hope it's good. I hope it's a good show, period.
I agree.
Because people who are in the park who can know what it is, if it has a certain predilection, is that a good word for that? Yeah. You can choose to see it or not.
Yes.
You have
and
a
this
choice.
is a
as opposed to the stuff where they rub your nose in it, whether you like it or not, on any given issue.
I agree with you, Lou.
Is our background Halloweened with that nasty face on it?
Yes.
I wasn't here at the beginning, but I should have noticed. And
yes, we are Halloween themed here for the month of October. Pretty cool stuff there.
Are we going to have a turkey for Thanksgiving?
Oh, well, I don't know. Maybe we might
Santa?
have a turkey. I'm not sure. We might be doing something for Christmas. I don't know about Thanksgiving, but we might be doing something for Christmas. We're already in talks with doing something.
Hearts for February for Valentine.
That's an interesting idea. I've never thought about that.
And a Lucky Charm leprechaun for March.
Okay, maybe.
Or you could put me, because that's my birthday is March. So anyway.
Anyway, I just in the background there.
I don't know, me with a shillelagh shaking it at the managers at Disney. I don't know, whatever.
I'll say this. I hope it's good. This is a park, Disney's Hollywood Studios, that is very attraction starved. And usually how you run out your day at that park is with the entertainment options available. Little Mermaid is definitely a hole in that regard. So to see that being filled, hopefully with something of quality.
I haven't even kept track. Is Fantasmic officially back there? Or
yes, Fantasmic is officially back there. Yep, which is good. I mean, I think that park has recovered fairly well. But Little Mermaid was the one holdout there. Hopefully, we'll get updates on when exactly it'll open very, very soon, and the quality of said.
The drawings look good. That set drawing looks good to me. So there's my positive for this episode, folks. Take it or leave it. No, but seriously,
now, back on to the negative. I'm in the news. No, well, we're gonna deep dive into some negative. There's a bit of positive here, but
wait. Let me give a good news, bad news. The good news is the drawings for the new Little Mermaid show, which is delayed a year,
Mhm.
look pretty darn good. The
Mhm.
bad news is the show is free, but you have to buy a piece of $30 cake to get in.
Oh,
No.
no. Dang. They
Hey,
always
we
get you
could have
with
been
the
worse.
cake.
It's a seafood show. We could have charged you the crab cake price.
Well, that's a fair point. That's a good
For those
point.
who aren't aware, on that big price of a piece of cake show, the crab cakes at the same restaurant are what, $37 or something crazy like that.
The crab cakes Benedict is $42. That's
there you
crab
go.
cakes with hollandaise sauce on them. $42. It is insane. It is crazy. But speaking of insanity, we gotta go to the West Coast, where there's a lot of insanity there in general. But
I'm not there anymore, but I was.
you can speak to it, right?
If you need verification that crazy things come out of the West Coast, here I am. Anyway.
That's a fair point. Well, speaking of crazy things, Disneyland Resort announces Lewis's Critter Club merchandise location opens November 13th. Disneyland also shared new photos of Tiana's Bite Adventure ahead of its official opening on November 15th. This is the Disneyland version for everybody keeping score here.
Would I be terribly cynical? Terribly, if I thought naming anything club implied that in the future they'll sell you a membership to get in?
Yes.
Just because Disney thinks that way, you know? Well, it's a
true.
club. That's like, it's a bonus price. It's a special feature.
And speaking of club coverage and so forth, we are going to be covering the Club 33 story there. I've had to push it off because there's been so much other news to cover. But I think for our 3K special next week, we will cover that in detail. We'll have a lot of fun with that. Club 33, 3K, and it seems fitting. And thank you everybody who has subscribed. When looking at this story, though, yes, the big news, I guess, is the Critter Club being announced to be open. And look, it's a great sign right there. That will be my one point of good news here. It's not one of those vinyl signs. The flat signs they just print out, stick on. They have been doing at Walt Disney World. Yeah, but you can see the walls have come down around the main entrance portion and all the way around the queue here, and the mural has also been.
Does the fact that we saw a guy with a trumpet, albeit an alligator, and that you're talking about the walls coming down, does that imply a Jericho-like negativity to this thing?
Yeah, well, it's. I don't know if it implies a Jericho-like negativity, but it
Walt
is.
Came tumbling down when he blew his trumpet, right?
Oh, it's
anyway.
I guess that's fair. It's terrible though. This is all not good. You can see that they've just like painted on the open sections of the facade they had room for because they didn't have like the side of the barn structure over there at Walt Disney World. You can see the. I hesitate to use the word quality of these.
Well, but see,
pieces.
wait, no. Listen, I don't think you can fault these for quality. I really don't. That is not saying, as an art critic, I think they're anything special or good. I think they are accurate to the kinds of things they are based on, which have nothing to do with Louisiana and the Bayou, but have to do with the, what would you say? Not exactly gentrification, but the revival of a lot of bad neighborhoods in a lot of northern cities with graffiti like this. The issue is not the quality. The issue is the reason it's there in the first place does not exist.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
That style has nothing to do with the theme of the ride, even their theme of the ride. And
they're going for a 1920s or 1930s aesthetic here. I don't know how over the knee shorts.
80s. Yeah, right.
Like nothing evokes that time period. It's not even appropriate for
and by the way,
that place in time.
That picture of Louis that was in that sign, he looked pretty good. He was rocking and bopping with his trumpet. Look at these. Wait, go. Yeah, he's having fun. That's a great mood. Now go to the one you just showed with the 4 zombies playing a horn. I mean, did Baron Samedi do that version? You know,
I know they had that artist there that with a very
but she
troubled past.
She painted people with something in their mouth, not people playing music joyously like that.
Yes.
And over here we're not slaves anymore. We're a co-op. So let's show a picture of people standing in the fields in straight lines picking stuff that isn't cotton, and therefore it isn't slaves, right?
They're picking. I here's the thing, and here's where it gets a little bit problematic. I see a lot of watermelon depicted in that, which I would think that hits some sensitivity focus group somewhere. I'm not quite sure about that decision either, but you can see right here that this artwork is more befitting of maybe inner city kindergarten more than it is a 1920s co-op.
Seriously, you know what it reminds me of? That second panel.
Mm-hmm.
When you said inner city, all of these community gardens, kind of the modern version of a victory garden, where everybody gets their own little plot in the middle of the city to grow their own stuff, that you see all the time, which is great. But irrelevant to the story, if there is one. That's, by the way, speaking of relevant stories, this is the ride where after trying 3 or 4 different versions that we know of, the plot they settled on was they can't find jazz musicians in New Orleans, and so they have to recruit you.
That's an insane
Any of you
premise.
out there who have pretensions of playing the trumpet as well as Louis Armstrong should apply right away for the job.
That is an insane plot point right there. Brer Oswald had something to say about it. Kindergarten or a world-class vlog flume. Again, people, they're now charging $200 a day to walk into this theme park, and some days is it befitting of a world-class theme park. The second most attended in the world, according to the Themed Entertainment Association's PDF document that was recently released about last year's numbers. I'm not sure about that. Lorena Creel here, more like non-1920s art that looks like it came straight out of Cuba. And I do have to agree with that assessment. But the good times, they don't stop there. Here we go. This is now the new area in which people...
God.
I had the same... God.
Is this before they put the reaction. Color in? Seriously. When we look at those bioreconstruct aerial shots of Epic Universe aborting, you see lots of grayed out stuff like this, and over in the corner they caught somebody starting to add the color to the base coat.
Right.
That's what this looks like, but this is it, right?
This is it. This is what we're getting right here, this kind of whitewashed picket fence here.
I mean, it's more Haunted Mansion-y than it is Joyous Jazz Ride-y, isn't it?
Well, it's a cacophony of things. So you have the Splash Mountain kind of undercoat here. And by the way, I don't know if you noticed, but it's not even done that well. So if you zoom in on this photo, I can see it right there. You see the dead plants that are still there on top? Didn't remove those. Why would you? They haphazardly painted mountain facade there. The stuff that's just been kind of included, the contradictory stuff. Why are you doing a white picket fence in the middle of the bayou outside of your big co-op?
It's not even white. What it looks like is these after hurricane flood shots of houses that have been flooded out and then the water drained out, and inside it's all colorless.
That's quite the comparison. I didn't even think about that, but it's not.
I just I'm not meditating this. I'm telling you, I hadn't seen these before, and that's the first thing that comes to my mind. Especially since those photos have been so prominent in our world in this immediate storm period. And by the way, the reason why the spaces between the pickets were so much wider in those poorer neighborhoods is because they didn't have enough to make a full fence. So they spaced them out. They were lacking wood, which obviously.
But then you get even deeper into it when it actually starts to get far worse. This is what the area kind of used to look like right here. Oh, the greenery, the foliage, the details.
Welcoming.
You can see that canopy.
Kind of place you'd like to go spend part of your day.
Right. And now it's
before you ever knew if there was something in the briar patch you wanted to buy or not. You'd go to it. You'd be drawn to it. It's a mini weenie in Disney terminology. But now,
yes, it is crazy how bad it is. Also, too, we have, let me see here if I can get this on screen. We have, beyond those white picket fences, we have this kind of a railing here.
And if that, but behind it, that little counter, If that doesn't look like one of these victory garden things that we see all the time with the garden shows,
Right.
people having their own little plot without water running and without electricity, but they put their gardening and their seeding tools. Fine, swell. But what's that got to do with this?
I don't even know
are they
what that is, to be honest with you.
That's what it looks like to me. Is a garden, not a shed, but a little garden table where you pull the seeds out and replant them in little planters and have them grow and then put them in the ground and all that kind of stuff.
I see. Okay. Well, maybe
that's what it looks like, isn't it? I mean, look, there's to the right of that blue-based lamp or lantern, looks like a little trowel and another little shovel on the far end above the yellow teapot or watering can. That's what it is, watering can. Yeah, that's what that is. That's a little horticultural countertop or whatever. It's like the kind of thing that you would see as a feature they're going to show you how to build on this old house. And the owner loves gardening, so when she's out in her backyard, we built this nice little planting station. We can show you the plans.
I can see that. I can see that. Perhaps it's what they were going for right there. I'm not sure if it's completely appropriate.
It's like in these home renovating shows where they show you how to buy an old antique, crappy dining set with a side table and repurpose that for your gardening station or whatever it is. That's what it looks like. And what is this idea of the ends of some of these planks have big rivets holding them and the other ones don't?
See, that's the other thing too. Like modern bolts that you wouldn't see, not at all indicative of the 1920s aesthetic there. And they're like plain, flat boards, 2x4s essentially.
But of course, because people can get next to them, I'm sure they are sanded down so you'd never get a splinter from bumping up against it while waiting in that queue. And in the 1920s, we didn't have a lot of planed, sanded fence lumber,
That's a fair point right there. But you can see what these used to look like. I mean, and this queue was dotted with these. Hard to see in this photo, but you kind of see them. What rails used to occupy this area right here. They were like,
and by the way,
they were taken. Okay.
The way they make those on a lot of Disney stuff. One time I was at Epcot and they were redoing the handrails in the Japan pavilion up around the, those steps you walk up to get to the restaurant. Above the Mitsukoshi store.
Sure.
And you know what they were? White PVC. Go to Home Depot and buy it for your home project piping. That they then took a kind of a thick, gooey fiberglass and a thing that has ridges in the end of it, like a ridged trowel, and they'd smear on the because over a couple days we saw them build it. They put up white PVC piping, like from your your bathroom project, about 2-inch or 3-inch, and then smeared on this thick fiberglassy paste, and then using a ridged trowel ran it down it with a little wave to it to make it look like the veins in the wood. And when it dried, it was a perfect piece of like that piece right in the foreground there. But of course, it didn't have a piece of wood, which would be heavier and expensive. It didn't have a metal pipe, which would be heavier and expensive.
Right.
If you disconnected the ends, you could pick it up with your little finger because it was really just PVC empty pipe underneath. With this coating, it was given the texture by an artist.
That's a level of care and detail that they used to apply to projects. And
plus, every rail was unique because they were all hand created, as opposed to those big flat boards we just looked at, where, well, let's see, we've got 30 feet of fence and they're 10 feet long, so we need 3 in a row and 2 rows. So go make me 6 this size, identical. And the only part of it that's not identical is the grain in the wood.
Right.
As opposed to hand swirling that on,
It looks so bad. The quality that you were just talking about, the attention to detail and the commitment to it, it's not at all reflected here.
Much worse than a similar fence would have looked when that ride originally opened. Why? because people nowadays wear really, really wild, colorful clothes. So the real guest human being standing next to it will emphasize how pale it is.
I so glad you brought that up because Eddie Sato actually thought the same thing. Eddie Sato, famous Imagineer who worked for the company during the very prolific period during the 1980s, 1990s, and so forth. If you you might not know the name, you know his work. Trust me, folks.
Yeah.
Got mud? Where's that welcome of refreshing garden color and lush bayou planting along that picket fence? When it's full of penned up guests, it will feel even worse.
Yeah.
Not good there to have.
I could go somewhere with that about what it'll look like.
Mm-hmm.
Famous historical black and white photos of people being penned up like that, but I won't.
Oh,
anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's that's a fair point, Lou. It doesn't. It's not a good look. I'll put it that way. Jim Shaw here, another famous Imagineer. You know his work from probably Toontown, but contributed to many projects both at Disney and Universal, interestingly enough. Worked in the industry for, I want to say, 30 years. The bright color of Bayou Adventure and the darker colors of the 100-Acre Wood clash. I believe he meant clash, not crash, but not unavoidable due to the choices made. The lack of planting is noticeable in what is advertised as a bayou, which suggests dense foliage and shade cover. Indeed, that was kind of the issue that I had with it. All of the trees and lush landscaping are all gone, even though in the model they indicated that all those would remain. Go ahead, Lou.
No broccoli. All of our criticism of the original one on the East Coast about broccoli and about it looking like Hobby Lobby stuff. We can't even do that here.
Well, there's a little broccoli.
Did
on
you
the facade,
ever, folks,
nearly as
when
bad
you
as
heard, after you got over your initial righteous outrage about why the hell are they changing the most beloved ride in the world, did you ever think you'd wind up by the time they, well, not really open because they've never really opened in the sense that it's reliable every day, the first one, let alone the second one, that we'd be here criticizing the queue? Righteously so.
Yeah. And we haven't even, I mean, the ride hasn't even opened, and it's just, it just looks really, really bad. And you can see like the paint, it's just splotched on. There's really no rhyme or reason to it. Dead plants also too in these images, which should have been removed. They haven't been, and there's no, scaffolding going up to remove them. But you can see what we lost, just the amount of foliage, the dense foliage, the trees, and so forth. Some pine trees dating back over 50 years old. They added hundreds of trees as part of the conversion from this being the Indian Village to Bear Country back in, I want to say, 1972, 1973. And some of those have been removed as well. Again, those old growth trees, not easy to return. The attention to detail, consistency, all without contradiction. This is a big point here that I want to make.
You said something in that post.
Oh, please.
My mind, I connect things that people don't connect.
Oh, go ahead.
So in other words, what profiteth a man if you taketh out Tom Sawyer and his island, but you put back in the whitewashed fence from Tom Sawyer's story in the wrong place?
That's a very good point.
That's the famous Tom Sawyer story, was the whitewashing the fence.
Whitewashing the fence. That's correct. And that's why I included it there, because that's essentially what they did. They whitewashed all of that away, literally using a whitewash fence there. It's just, it's a poor state this all is in. But if you can believe it, folks, it even gets worse as you go down the line here. This is the main entrance for this facade. We've
as opposed to what? There's 17 secondary entrances.
Well, that's
doesn't that remind you of when you look at real estate ads and they put up a sign that says bathroom in a bathroom or pantry on a door to the pantry, and you're like, what else is it? But
yeah. So people made a lot of hay out of that. Jim Shull here again, story critic. The main entrance sign is a main entrance to what exactly? The company sign should and needs to be on the building.
Tiana's whatever. What is it called? Tiana's Fine Foods or Tiana's whatever.
Yeah, Tiana's Foods.
Whatever that is, should have said like payroll office or foreman's office or something. but they don't trust people to know that's how you get in when they're all standing in line for it.
I guess not. It's so bizarre. The company's sign should and needs to be on the building. Is this a delivery entrance or a customer entrance? If a customer entrance, where's the parking? It's a fair point right here. You can see it's story-wise.
I mean, the building isn't bad. It's not as nice as that, but at least it's bright and it's cheerful. More cheerful than all those queue areas, that's for sure.
And I've also heard, Lou, at least what Barry Place 28 is reporting, that the paint, although bright, not that well applied. So even that has issues, which is unfortunate. You can see how thematically consistent the old version looked.
Here's a good example.
The entire area.
Look at that upper barn loft window.
Right.
And look just to the right of that shutter. Just that section between that shutter to the right from there. The wood I'm talking about now.
Yeah.
Between the two things. Do you see the gradation in shading?
Yeah.
That's not something that happened over 50 years of wearing. That's something that was painted by an artist to imply that.
Right. Right.
Sure, a lot easier and cheaper to a guy who could paint yellow on yellow on yellow.
That's a very good point. 21 Rural Street coming in as well. I know the main entrance sign is supposed to be a Tiana's food story thing. It just makes it look like the entrance to a random ride at some regional theme park that doesn't really get how to properly.
And can I reiterate? I haven't seen these photos except now as you are all out there watching them. Sure. And these things are all coming to my mind. And obviously, I'm not that original. Everybody gets the same impression based on these posts.
Isn't that quite? I mean, it's demonstrable. I mean, this stuff is really bad, and it's just really unfortunate that this is happening to, like I said, the second most attended theme park in the world after they did a horrible job with the most attended theme park in the world, that being Magic Kingdom, to Walt's original park, to an attraction in which was created by Imagineers like Bruce Gordon and Tony Baxter, who were real fans of the park, understood kind of the park language and what the original Imagineers had so paved the way in doing. They wanted to obviously emulate that and take it to the next level with Splash Mountain, and I think they accomplished that in many regards. Unfortunately, this attraction has been
they
destroyed.
were as dedicated to entertaining their audience with their talents, with buildings, with pictures, with as pick somebody as John Wayne was in entertaining people with his acting, or Gene Kelly was with his dancing, or Herbie Ryman was with his illustrations and planning.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, there's an old expression for animators as actors with pencils.
Right.
So same idea. You got people who care about that first. Somehow those people aren't around anymore.
And the
now don't get me wrong.
Which they left behind
your kid who's in the play this fall at school may be very dedicated, but not have the talent. These are people who not just, in other words, heart is not all it takes. It takes some skill and some training and some experience to achieve it.
Of course.
But if that's your goal, you're going to get there more than somebody whose goal is finish it for $47.95. And so, by the way, they make a big deal. Oh boy, the construction walls are down. Isn't that wall on the left with the lantern on it basically a construction wall?
Well, yeah, that's true. I'll say this.
I mean, if they're going to do this planking thing, why not paint the planks on that in white and brown? And
I don't.
You know, partially what does it too is that those planks are the same tone as the stone.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a good point right
there.
Look
right at the bottom to the left of that hand pointing.
Right. This from
if the stone is that color, the fence should be a different color. And by the way, what I said about how they do those fiberglass and PVC things, look at that post with the cap on it. Isn't that anybody's garden fence?
I know. It's crazy how bad this looks. It's unbelievable
like,
how inconsistent this is and how contradictory it is.
37 posts. Go get them at Lowe's, and then we'll paint them.
Yes, the screws, the bolts are way too big. You would not find those, especially for a co-op in the South in the 1920s. You wouldn't have access to those materials. It's thematically inappropriate. It's completely wrong. And these are storytellers who, I mean, if you look at even the stuff that they didn't actually change, you can see right here the quality that was applied to projects of years past and comparing them to today's projects. It's unthinkable. The decrease in quality that we've experienced. And again, they left those posts there. So you have a mixture of Splash Mountain theming, you have a mixture of Tiana's By Adventure theming, mixture of 100 Acre Wood theming, and it all just really does not settle in all that well together. You can see right here also too, they remove the Brer Bear and Brer Rabbit statue there and replaced it with nothing. So that's good as well. Glad to see that we are just destroying the things that that people love, little by little.
You know what else about painting something bleached out gray white? Over the years, as the sun bleaches it out gray white,
right,
it never changes looking different, and therefore we don't have to do a maintenance run with a paint job 10 and 20 years from now. It'll all look just as bad as it did opening day. Oh boy,
it's terrible. It's all very, very bad, and not in keeping with the quality that used to be part of the original Magic Kingdom.
Since if past is prologue and experience at Disney World is predictive, half of the days there'll be nobody in those queues because the ride won't be operating. It'll be fine, I'm sure.
that's a good point.
That's the kind of attitude you get
right
when they continue failing to deliver.
It's so true. Anyway. Moving on to our next story, in happier news, I will say, hey, guess what? The Adventureland restroom that had those pipes burst and that a beautiful water feature removed, well, it's finally getting fixed. A year after this actually happened, I believe in August of 2023 right here. Well, we have an update.
Let's put some perspective on that now, to be fair.
Please.
Josh. Those of you out there, you're having a reputation as a great party giver. You do backyard barbecues in the summer and you do Christmas parties in the winter, and you're really great at it. Thing is, you're in your house, right? Which is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in a very nice tract, right? And the bathroom blows up. Going to wait a year to fix it and keep giving the parties? Where are they going to pee?
That's true.
I mean, it's just that simple. You don't say, well, the bathroom, got home from work and, hi, honey, what's new? Well, the bathroom blew up. Oh, really? What'd you do? Well, I looked at it and I thought, it's probably fixable. We don't have to burn the house down to start over. Great. Did you call the plumber? No, he's busy for the next year. So you couldn't find another one? No, that costs too much. So where are our friends going to pee? Well, there's always the pool.
Forget
theme parks. Just plain old basic human being common sense in the US of A in 2024. Do you do that? If you do, I'll tell you this. When your friends, because everything gets reviewed on Reddit or Yelp or something. When your friends write up your parties, well, the Johnsons used to do great parties, but as much as it's fun to just drop your pants and pee in the pool, it's kind of a drag after a year. I'm going to give them a 3 points out of 5.
Yeah, I mean, even back in the day too, right? So back in the day, they had a plumber strike when they were installing the original restrooms and fountains for Disneyland back in 1954-55, leading up to the opening that would take place July 17th. So Walt had a decision to make because that plumber strike obviously would affect the work output. Said, hey, look, listen, do you want drinking fountains or do you want toilets? And he was like, well, people can drink Coke and Pepsi, but they can't necessarily urinate in the streets. So obviously chose the toilets as well. But again, that was with limited resources, limited time, all going, leading up to the opening of this park. I wonder how many people
not as well versed in the history of the construction of the park as we are know that there was a big concrete strike during the construction of Disneyland.
That's true.
They were paying basically black market truck drivers to bring in concrete in the dead of night to build this place.
Right.
And
And
and what did you all do when you couldn't get toilet paper during the pandemic?
yes,
You
yes,
found somebody who
but
had it, right? You
sure.
solved the problem. You had a need that was not. Uh, let's put it this way: when they called it the Adventureland guest rooms, they didn't mean finding a place to pee should be an adventure.
I agree with that sentiment wholeheartedly. And again, this is a company that does billions and billions of dollars a year in annual revenue. You would think that they would just earmark a little bit of that.
It's still the what was that? I think it was the Marines recruiting slogan. It's not just a job; it's an adventure to find a place to pee in Adventureland.
I guess that's where we're at right here. Again, you would think earmark a little bit of that for the second most attended theme park in the world. I can't overstate that. We finally have an updated building permit for the Adventureland restrooms at Disneyland. It looks like a new custodial room will be constructed with a rock wall and water feature. Nice. DLR Adventureland guest restrooms. This is the permanent entry right here. Building 22089 residential edition, 35 square feet custodial room with a 12-inch foot or 12 foot, I believe, 8-foot tall equipment enclosure with 27 square foot cover. You get the idea there. But I put this out immediately after. I said, look, I'm glad that this permit has finally been filed, but it didn't really take over a year to get this permit filed. Why was this considered acceptable? Disneyland was the most second attended theme park in the world in 2023. It now demands over $200 a day just to enter on some days. Why isn't the standard higher? And again, you can kind of broaden this out as well. It's not just Adventureland restrooms that have been experiencing some technical issues. Also, too, this is the current state of the lights that are at Epcot in the what was previously the Future World section, now World Celebration. The state of World Celebration lights is embarrassing. The floor is reduced to dots, and 4 to 8 columns are not in sync with the show on Spaceship Earth. Why is this way? This just recently opened. It only worked for like a week, and then it had experienced these issues.
You know the expression, it's not a bug, it's a feature.
Yep.
If you don't think they could make these things, whether it's a restroom or a light, work, after spending how many years now with the, as somebody said, pushing dirt around in the middle of Epcot, if they wanted to, if they really, really wanted to, if somebody even had to go all the way to the top, and the Big Bob said, I want the lights fixed, I want it done in the next 2 weeks, and I want it done and so it keeps being fixed after you walk away. It could happen. It had to happen. It would absolutely have to have been right if anybody at the top cared enough to make it a priority, to make what used to be standard operating procedure, not something with a bonus price or a special new feature, just basic get it done, a priority. The fact that they don't is not a matter of them being incompetent to do it. It's not a matter of, gee, all new things have problems. It's a matter of intent not being there.
Correct.
Why not? And if that intent results in being the first or second or whatever most visited place in the past and soon doesn't, you'll know why.
This is a company that used to build mountains. When Walt Disney World was being constructed back in the late 1960s, in order to make Seven Seas Lagoon, which is a man-made lake, essentially, in order to make Magic Kingdom and the 3 resorts around there, Fort Wilderness, Contemporary, and the Polynesian, that was all the largest private construction project that ever had been attempted by any private corporation. That was about a $400 million project back in 1971, when it would eventually open on October 1st. That was the level of ambition there, and then they would up the stakes even further with the opening of
And
Epcot.
by the way, it wasn't just ambition. It was confidence based on experience.
True.
Anybody can say, well, we're going to build a mountain where nobody's ever done it before, and then you never hear from them again. But these guys, these were the pros from Dover. These were the, anybody else, well, you don't have to take my word for it. I will never forget, I can't tell you what year it was because I don't remember. going to the Six Flags Park in Norfolk, Virginia, and they had a big water flume ride with a big mountain, and only it was themed to pirates. And I thought, well, and I get up close, and the boats you could buy them in front of what you call it? Why can't it? Bass Pro Shop. They were aluminum dinghies of the kind that are stamped out by the millions. That's something special or themed. I took the ride. Inside, it was literally department store mannequins dressed up in bad pirate suits and a soundtrack that was going, yo, 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 over and over and over again. And then you came out the top of the flume, and this was a very rainy day. And I was sitting in the second row, and there was a guy sitting in front of me. Or no, pardon me, the other way around. I was in the bow, and he was behind me. And I saw that we were going to go down that big hill and hit at the bottom in this, you could tap on it with your fingers, and it would sound like a Caribbean drum orchestra, these cheap aluminum boats. And I opened my umbrella and hid behind it because I thought that bow wave is going to come right. And it did. It came right over the bow. It came right over me and dumped all that water on the guy sitting behind me. And I said, sorry, but I wasn't going to get wet that way. And these are people, especially with that bad pirate sound effect.
Sure.
They're trying to emulate and failing. And they're big companies with big money invested. Disney. Everybody wanted to be like Disney, right? In other words, Disney was not a great professional ball player. Disney was Michael Jordan. Disney was not a great heavyweight boxer. Disney was Muhammad Ali.
Yes.
And the reason why, if you watch the movie Rocky, people with less resources can succeed is because they just have the will and the intent and the dedication to keep, like in Pro's opening with that sequence from the Rocky movie about you have to keep getting hit and keep getting back up. Well, when you've been hit as many times as they have in the force of creating all this stuff originally, you don't get hit anymore. You're not supposed to, unless you're punching yourself in the nose every single time.
That's true.
And you can't lose your reputation and then recover it like that. It's hard built and it's worth protecting. And the people in charge right now don't think so.
It's so true. Whether it's the Adventureland restrooms, fountains, lights, all of that. Braden, I think, puts it.
And notice we're not talking about Tiana, a big, expensive, many years project for a major attraction that doesn't work. We're talking about stuff you walk on and stuff that lights your way so you don't trip and fall.
Right.
We're talking about a place you go to pee. In a year? Man, that gives a whole new motivation to the term hold it.
It's so true.
I'm sure you couldn't really do this, but it would sure be hilarious to illustrate this story if we had a montage of people walking around the parks with their legs crossed looking anxious.
Yeah. Well,
For a year.
Yeah, right. And it's not to say that those restrooms were completely
speaking as someone
partially functioned, but they didn't function well, from what I understand.
Speaking as somebody who has literally, that was always we've been driving on the freeway. We got to the park. We got in the front gate. The ones right at the front gate are too busy. That was my first pee stop of the day for decades. And they couldn't fix it in a year.
It's so bad.
Anyway.
It's so bad. Again, $32.6 billion in parks experience revenue last year. Couldn't fix any of these issues.
This thing about those floors with the lights at Epcot came out, and I put up a picture I found in a tour of a boat at the Dusseldorf Boat Show that an English company had those kind of lights in the decks of their ocean-going yacht and made them work. Not saltwater safe, which is much more corrosive than anything that goes on the ground at Epcot, even if it's a guest who can't find a working restroom. But this is just all I'm trying to stress, and I'm going to stop now because I'm tired of doing it. This is not accident. This is not a failure of technology or person. This is not, we couldn't have made it work right the first time. In the case of Tiana, it's the willpower was not there to make it work right in the first time. And from that willpower and that intent and that management that has that willpower for putting politics into their cartoons for children. We all have choices. We all have choices to make, whether we're you and me or the CEO of a major international corporation. And what choices you make matter. And what the results are matters. And basically, if your attitude is on this kind of thing, big deal. Disney's Disney. Everybody will come here anyway. Why should we worry? That shows a basic, elemental, bottom line contempt for your customers. People who show contempt for their customers get less customers, period. That's not about whether you've got a mouse as a logo, and that's not about what your brand name is, and that's not about some outside factor of society or politics or anything else. That's just a reality. People don't like to spend money with you, let alone enormous sums of money, when you're treating them with such utter contempt. And that's why
exactly. Anyway, that's it exactly. Couldn't have said it better.
End of speech from Speechifying Lou. But that's the way I see it. You got another opinion? We'd love to hear from you. Really, seriously.
Yes, sir. Yeah, well, provide your opinions in the comments because I don't think Lou is wrong here. I think he's hitting it right on the head. Speaking of, well, unfortunately, we got more bad news, and it comes in the form of price increases. Oh, come on now, Disney. What are you doing right here? Theme park ticket prices at Disneyland Park and Disney California Adventure Park increased on average of 5.9 to 6.5% effective today. The cheapest one-day ticket, Tier 0, remains $104, but the most expensive, Tier 6, is now $206. That's right, folks. Over $200 a day to walk into Disneyland or Disney California Adventure Park at the Disneyland Resort.
I didn't realize they had 6 tiers. There's that number again.
What? You didn't know that, Lou? Come on. No,
I mean, but
I don't blame you.
That's a happy number for them for some reason. Well, we're going to spend $6 billion. And we're going to spend $600,000 to not fix the Jungle Cruise. And I wonder why they don't have a 6-day pass.
They don't have a 6-day pass because people are sharing them. Which they want to prevent at all costs, which I can, I suppose, understand right here. But you can see the breakdown and how complicated this all gets right here with this color-coded chart of. And
by the way, Disney, a little basic PR
6.
for you. Mm-hmm. When you're making things more expensive, making the colors go from cool colors to hot colors is not the way to hide it.
It is not. I will agree.
The human color sense is attracted to yellows and reds more than it is to blues and greens. So I would have numbered those in reverse. I really would have. I mean, seriously, just based on, there have been reams of research done on the colors and what they do to you atmosphere-wise. Right. In fact, those of you who remember obscure movies like I do will remember when the scientists are being given their tour of the wildfire base in Andromeda Strain, and how each level, as they go into a more and more cleaner environment to analyze this alien plague from space, they're being told, well, it was developed for submarines and for the keeping psychology of people who are locked up, and what colors were more conducive to peaceful mood and more dedicated work. Well, you want to know how hot it is? Don't worry about the thermometer. Notice that the thermometer gets redder as it goes up. Just say more red today than yesterday for your weather report, and everybody will know what you mean. I told somebody I know who's traveling right now that they should be careful because this area that I live in that they're coming to, is suddenly experiencing fall in a way that last week it was in the 80s. Today, I think it's going to make 61, and last night was 42. Well, guess what color 42 is? It's not red. It's blue. But guess what color 108 is? It's red and magenta. They're supposed to know this. They're supposed to be the experts at this. Anyway, I know you're saying,
I don't disagree with you.
No, I mean, those of you out there, some of you rightly are saying, this guy's quibbling about what color they make their price chart. Yes, I am. Not because that one thing is the key to saving Disney or not, but because that one thing shows you that they don't get it. They've forgotten whatever they knew about it, and nobody gave a damn who didn't know.
That's
I mean, what does that orange tier 6 say? Before you even read the prices, it says avoid this one.
Right. And perhaps that is somewhat intentional. I know they've been trying to push people towards the weekdays, which are typically tier 0, tier 1, tier 2, and so forth. And so perhaps that's part of their pricing strategy. But I do agree with you. I don't think it's necessarily that great to have it incline in that manner. There's some color theory behind this. Mary Blair, very smart gal, would learn a lot from that as well.
They obviously know, because look at there. Magic Key passes. Green is the cheapest.
That's a fair point.
But then we go to Believe, Enchant, Imagine, going deeper into blue. Didn't get to magenta and purple and orange, did it? Because they don't want you to run away from those. They want you to pay more for those. I mean, look, basically, if you're going down this thing, just look at monthly increase on the right-hand side of that Magic Key Pass one in the lower right.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Well, they raised the bottom one by $8.34 a month. So that's times 12. That's however much it is.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, notice they don't show the increase in the annual price.
Mm-hmm.
The new price over on the left, $17.49, is the annual price. So, but then we go to the next one and it's $10.44. Well, it makes sense. It's a next notch up the ladder that it should go up. But then the next one goes down by 2 cents, but it's a price increase of 14.7%. And then the last one's back to $8.34. So what the hell if the net is $8.34 a month, whether you buy the cheap one or the expensive one, might as well buy the expensive one. And if you don't think they're figuring that into it too, people say, well, look, let's go for the whole hog. We like it anyway. And look, it's the same price increase as the cheapest one was.
That's a fair point.
Anyway, there is some
psychology for sure.
From a premise, you would hope, of what's the least we can raise it and still get it, because we don't want to turn people off. We don't want people to say, well, the hell with this whole thing. So they've I'm sure researched that to death.
I think they have.
Cute little people with clipboards standing there saying, if you were buying an annual pass and it was this much more, would you buy it or would you not? Compared to this much, they research this stuff like crazy. But
they do. They do. No, they do.
And when they get to the meeting where they're finally going to decide, are we going to raise it by $8.34 a month, or $7.95 a month, or $9.02 a month? None of which is going to affect the economy of the average family. They're just too close. When they make that decision, they're one decision further down the road than they should be, because that decision really is, in inflationary times, with every sign showing the economy getting worse. For God's sakes, if this is a special family expense, could you say in that sense it's in the same category as home reno products and services? Because guess who went bankrupt this week, folks? True Value hardware stores.
Ooh.
Did you see that?
I did not see that.
Bankrupt. Not Joe's hardware store. He was fly-by-night to begin with. But a major, well-known national chain. So if people haven't got enough money to keep them working, have they got this? Or maybe we should bite the bullet.
I mean,
Make a
well,
little less this year.
that's
To help
kind
when
of
the economy improves, we can make it better.
my point here, Lou. I don't know if there's anything to justify these level of increases, especially when you look at the value proposition of the parks themselves. We're talking about 20% increases on the lowest tier pass, 14% increases on the second to lowest tier pass. A lot of these days happen to be, as Gregor pointed out, a lot of these days have to be tier 5, which is now at what, $196, again approaching that $200 price point. This is kind of why I put this tweet out right here. You have a 6% increase on average, but for what? There's no shows, like we said before, in the Hyperion, the Fantasyland Theater. The two largest venues on Disneyland Resort property are empty, along with the Golden Horseshoe. There's no Tomorrowland bands anymore. There's no swing dance anymore. There's no Dragon. That was burned down last year in a fire, and Fantasmic. There's less entertainment than ever before because they've been making cuts all over the resort. No new rides for at least 5 years, and only one remaining new attraction in 2024, that being Tiana's by Adventure, obviously,
And by the way,
lesser version of Splash Mountain.
And it's even more important at Disneyland, because the no new rides for 5 years is 5 years of, you want to go to Disneyland today? Because we're in the neighborhood. 80% of is it still 80? Might be 70 who are locals versus long distance. And the answer is, yeah, but they haven't put a new ride in 4 years. Let's wait till next year. Yeah. Well, what else are we going to do? Well, I understand that new coaster on the hill at Universal's fun. Well, I understand the consolidation of Six Flags, and we could buy a pass where we can go to both parks and others all for one price. Well, in other words, the competition is trying. Now, they may fail too. They may have financial problems from it, but they're trying ways of changing the playing field at difficult times, other than, well, just raise the prices. That'll cover it. Because people always come here every year because, oh, yeah. Well, we'll see.
These are the pictures from Five Fires talking about that Fast and Furious coaster that's on the way. An Intamin, we believe, Omni coaster type ride system, very similar to what Vekoma used for Guardians of the Galaxy, not Mission Breakout, but Cosmic Rewind. But with inversions, very, very cool coaster built on the side of a hill. This is in Universal Studios Hollywood right here, just down the road. I mean, just down the I-5, I should say.
Because, folks,
Disneyland.
Tourism in Southern California has always been an issue of, well, we're coming from Milwaukee or from Des Moines or from, I don't know, even Phoenix and weird places like that. Should we stay more in the center of things where we can go to Universal and Six Flags and Hollywood Boulevard and maybe catch a game at Dodger Stadium and go to the beach, and then it's not that far to the mountains? Or should we stay down in Orange County, and when we get up in the morning and it's not a day we were planning on going to Disneyland, our choices are knots and nada, without an hour and a half drive each way. And it's all technically Southern California. So that whole pull, that's what affects hotels, restaurants, tour bus companies, you name it. Because it's not like Orlando, where they're, even with the I-4 traffic, an hour and a half away. It's 2 hours each way. Back when, in my not that recent past, it was 30, 40 minutes, because it's a different world.
And I can tell you right now, Lou, that there are not one but 2 hotels that are on the way for Universal Studios Hollywood, making that what was Studio Park now resort, a resort indeed. Very, very cool stuff. The competition's only getting fiercer while Disney keeps increasing prices. I will say, too.
And by the way, Universal has an exclusive advantage there, Think about it for a minute. Let's say Universal has the new coaster, has other expansions, adds a net increase in guest traffic of 10, 15, 20%, partly from people not going to Disney and partly from new people.
Right.
If you were just a hotel operator and you wanted to build a big 500 to 1,000 room hotel, where do you build it near Universal? Universal owns all that land. Everybody else has to compete to lease it, let alone buy it.
Sure. With
everything else there is in the San Fernando Valley, one of the most expensive and one of the most difficult to build on pieces of property in the world. Just think of the existing hotels at Universal.
Yeah.
How much land in Van Nuys would you need to build the old Sheraton Universal, the first one? And what would that cost today compared to, well, we've got this empty piece of the back lot, let's put it there. The land is free. And the debt service on the land is free. What an advantage. It's almost as if they were building in one of these other places where there's a lot of empty stuff, where there's 7 parks or lands or something worth of empty stuff. But there you go.
Well, I can tell you, Lou, Universal Studios Hollywood, and you know this, there's been no Universal branded hotels ever in its history. Now there will have 2 very similar to the designs that are featured at the Universal Orlando Resort. One of them being
and Lowe's
an almost duplicate
them, right?
of the Helios Hotel that's going into Epic Universe. Will be placed right there at the entrance of Universal Studios Hollywood. Very, very, very cool.
And they get all of that advantage. Plus, since it's a neat new thing, when the in-laws come in for Thanksgiving and you want to put them up someplace nice, and you didn't, and buying a house with an extra guest bedroom costs you more than 150,000 annual passes to Universal in LA. Well, where are you going to send them? So even non-slack non-holiday seasons, those hotels are going to run 70%, 80% occupancy and pay for themselves. Because never underestimate.
It's going to be very profitable venture for Universal. And remember, you want to get your hotels established first before you actually get with your big expansion so that you can capitalize on that. Remember, we have 3 big events coming up in the LA area. I believe we have the FIFA World Cup, we have the LA Olympics, and we have one more event that I can't think of at the top of my head. But 3 big high-profile events that will be taking place in which Universal can capitalize on those investments. I'm going to go ahead and clear this segment up real fast.
As was done during the last Olympics in LA.
That's true. Ryan Theme Park here has the breakdown of the number of visits that you'll have to actually embark on in order to get your value out of these specific keys right here. Obviously, that has gone up, and there's a hidden cost to all this as well. So if you're buying a ticket, whether it be, I don't know, a tier 2 ticket or let's say a multi-day ticket, now you have variable pricing on park hoppers as well. Used to be a flat fee of $60, and that was increased to $75. Now it's anywhere between $65 to now $105, and you can actually determine this. So if you go right here, let's say you want a 1 day going on the website right here. Nope, no help there. 1 ticket, you can see the park hopper option, $65 to $75.
And that whole issue,
a 5-day ticket, you can see $105.
That whole issue of even having park hopper stuff. I always said that one of the major reasons I thought DCA got off to a very bad start financially was because they never did park hopper. They told people who for their whole lives had been coming to Disneyland, sure of a good thing, sure of guaranteed satisfaction, that A, well, we built another park, and B, it's totally different, and C, we're not going to let you come in the first 6 months or a year even. They're going to buy a ticket to Disneyland and get to go visit and see the new park. We never gave you fun insurance to get you to try something. We never gave you a special super bonus price of the new item on the menu in order that you try it and like it. That was when we're having.
Lou, you still there? Lou? Okay. This is interesting. Am I still here? Oh, we may have lost Lou. Oh no. Well, I will say this in order to finish this segment off right here. Oh boy. They did add this feature here with this extras unlocked in which they're selling magic keys with the ability to buy Lightning Lane at a reduced price point, anywhere between 50% off versus the regular 20% off. I suppose that's a decent win, but we know pretty good authority that Lightning Lane sales have actually been down recently, which is why they're, making changes to DAS, and also to why they might actually be rolling out a Lightning Lane premium tier that they previously did not have. So all of those things added up are to induce more sales of Lightning Lane, which, is unfortunate. Also, too, they announced that, hey, Magic Key holders are going to be embarking on previews very, very soon. You can actually see the list of preview dates for Tiana's Bayou Adventure at Disneyland, as if that's a big perk that, people want to go ahead and embark on. I don't know if that's going to induce more sales. What would induce more sales, I think, is a robust entertainment package at the Disneyland Resort. And well, we have news on that coming up very, very soon. So, stick around here. Afterwards, you will be redirected to Mr. H, who's already, I believe, in progress right there. Oh, we don't like that view. We like the solo view. There you go. So stay tuned. We have a couple of super chats to get to before we get to some of that entertainment that'll be added to the Disneyland Resort very, very soon, which I will say is very encouraging. Here you go. $4.99 from the mom. Thank you so much. Hi, Vash and Lou. Well, I will, send his sentiments. Sends your sentiments to him thusly. What did I come home to? This is fugly. Yeah, I know. Tiana's Bayou Adventure, I'm guessing. It's terrible. This is why the ugly is in the title there. Give Jonas a message. Yes, very serious. It helps get through the last 2:30 hour of work. I very much appreciate that. And that's kind of what we're here for. We're here to kind of allow you to escape with some entertainment and theme park news the best we can. And hopefully you enjoy that coverage. We just like to put on a show that people like to hear themselves. The mom with another $4.99. Thank you so much for that. Disney is not my childhood. 80s Disney, not worth my money. So here, Vash, here's 5 that Disney won't ever see. Thank you, gentlemen, for this live show. Thank you so much, the mom. Very much appreciated. And hey, look, it's, I think if people were happier with the product at Disney and a lot of these other studios and so forth, even games and so forth, hey, people I think are glad to open their wallets and give them their money. It's just that they don't seem to want it. They want to prioritize other things even over profit, which is so strange. But hey, you know what? We'll be fighting for you, the viewers here at T3PO or That Pod Place, That Park Place Network, and so forth. Thank you so much to the mom for that amazing support there. Well, we got 2 more stories, like I said. And we'll be sending you over to Mr. H. Thusly, who's got a great show, I am sure. Now, we were very concerned over those price increases not being accompanied by, I think, a more robust entertainment package for the Disneyland Resort. We understand that the theme park attractions were at least 3 years away from anything being opened if they were to start today, and we know they're not going to do that, so this is why that 5-year timeline comes into play. So back in the day, Disneyland would actually offer entertainment in order to kind of shore up the lack of new additions to the Disneyland Resort. Well, it looks like they are doing that indeed, which is, I would say, very good news. Here you go from Mice Chat. Light the Lights, Paint the Night is returning to Disneyland. A lot of people have been asking, when can we do this again? Ever since it last showed up at DCA back in 2018. And unfortunately, we haven't been able to do this again until soon, I suppose. We don't have an exact date, but we'll get into that in just a moment. We have an amazing news. Paint the Night, an all-time favorite Disneyland parade, is heading back to the resort. The news came in the form of a teaser video on Disney Parks Instagram. The caption, "When can we do this again?" Obviously, the famous lyrics from that specific musical segment as part of that parade is set to a video clip of Mac from Pixar's Cars, who's part of the show. The iconic soundtrack from Owl City plays in the background. That's, again, Owl City, obviously a famous recording artist, but they did the music for, Wreck-It Ralph. And so that's why that's incorporated in that way. Plays in the background, and the video concludes with vibrant lights. Although short and simple, the brief clip was enough to set the comment section ablaze with delighted guests. So very, very cool. It is awesome to see that this parade is coming back. I mean, legitimately awesome. I'm not gonna, sugarcoat it and say, oh yeah, this is, Disney cheaping out. this actually has been in the works for quite some time. The entertainment department is very fond of this parade, and the Disneyland locals are as well. This is why I think the news has really taken kind of the West Coast media, theme park media by storm. And I will say it's great. It is great to have a parade like this coming back in this way. I think it is legitimately very, very cool. You can actually see the video here. Play. Let's go ahead and see if we can actually play this for our audience right here. Can't play the music, unfortunately, but you can see right there, this is what was actually teased. We're assuming that this is going to be for the summer of 2025 season. That's typically when they actually debut nighttime parades upon their glorious return to the Disneyland Resort. And the reason why we're hearing about this announcement now is, well, the start of the fiscal year for the Walt Disney Company occurs October 1st, typically. And that's usually when entertainment department will actually get the green light from Burbank on whether or not they can actually go forward with their entertainment packages for the next year. And so that was probably recently approved, and this is why they're debuting this news now. And again, they did promise a big, robust entertainment package for the 70th anniversary for Disneyland. Obviously, that would take place in 2025, around the July 17th area. But it looks like this is a part of it, and it's great. My only issue with this is that Paint the Night is awesome. For one, I am hearing that it's going back to DCA and not Disneyland. I actually have a source on this that just revealed that information to me. At least that's the plan right now. Those plans could change. That's just, I think Paint the Night, it deserves to have its rightful place in Disneyland. The floats were actually modified to actually have them premiere at DCA back in the day. So I believe it ran, I think it was 2 seasons at Disneyland back in 2015, 2016 area. After it actually debuted in Hong Kong Disneyland, of all things, it was brought to Disneyland Resort, and it was a crowd pleaser from day one. I think it ran 2 times for 2 seasons at Disneyland Resort, and then it was brought over to DCA for the 2017, 2018, I'd say season there. And the Frozen float that was part of this actually had to be removed entirely, because while it could actually miniaturize itself in order to fit into the warehouses associated with Disneyland Resort, it couldn't actually make it under the trolley lines that are there at DCA, so they had to replace it with an Incredibles themed float. And it's been problematic for entertainment to run this parade, even though it is a fan favorite. There was an uptick in complaints and potential lawsuits and so forth associated with the cast members who actually man this parade here. A lot of the costumes and so forth were kind of problematic, and those had to be redesigned. So the company had to incur that cost. And then the floats, well, when they were actually put into storage starting in 2018, they weren't kept in the best condition. And unfortunately, in the time between now and when these floats were stored, unfortunately, the original fabricators for this parade actually went out of business. So it was going to be a little bit more of a cost than Disney wanted to incur, which is why, even though they wanted to bring it back for the 2023 season, they could not because of those additional costs. Josh G. Morrow, from what I understand, is a big fan of this parade, so it was always kind of in the background that this parade would actually make its return. We just didn't know when. Unfortunately, it didn't make its way back for the 2023 season, which would have been awesome because, well, that's when Fantasmic actually went down. So there was a little bit of an entertainment deficit there for a little while at Disneyland Resort. Would have been nice to have Pink Night as well. Unfortunately, it did not come to pass, but it will be coming, we believe, for the 2025 season. All things good. Again, I will say, oh, we have Marty here. Marty! Whoa, where'd you come from, Marty? How are you doing? I just saw you come into the back there, and we're talking about Disneyland Resort. Marty, you got to be. All right. Are you one of the ones that's that is excited for Pink Night's return?
Yeah, I listen, man. I saw you flying solo here. Lou dropped out on you and decided to come in, give you somebody to like shout opinions on.
Oh, love to have you. What's going on there, sir?
Honestly, Paint the Night by far, in a way, my favorite parade. Yeah, I mean, I just think it's like part of it
It's a
is,
great parade.
you know, my son just turned 7 the other day, and he loves cars. So like that, all that was, you know, that implementation or involvement in the parade is awesome.
Mhm.
Uh, I'm super excited because I was showing him videos of when he was like 3, watching Paint the Night and first falling in love with Disney, right? Like at 3 years old, he's starting to, you know, he found cars was his thing. And so that was like that was me becoming a kid again. I got to
Yeah,
see it through my son's eyes. And he
that's so
got, you
cool.
know, having Mac come down and then DJ on the back. Like I'm still jealous that like I think the East Coast has our DJ, like for our you know,
Yeah.
we used to have a DJ that would sit there and do like parties, like dance parties and stuff like that. Um, and he loves those cars, man. So like this, I am so excited about this. Uh, yeah,
I
it would have been
I
cool
am
that if it was in Disneyland. But I mean, I'll take it. I'll take it. I don't care where they put it, man. They want to put it in downtown Disney, I'll go watch it there.
well, that'd be a little bit difficult to
It
accomplish,
would
but
be. It would be. Hey, got to move those people, man. Get to the side.
well, look, I you see that's I love that this parade is coming back, and I love that the entertainment department was like dead set on bringing this back. I love all that. Just a couple of things though. One,
Yeah.
I need a little bit more than Paint the Night in order to get like a pass or something like that. And here's the thing:
Yeah.
they announced this like a couple days after the ticket price increase, and so people were kind of like,
Oh yeah,
you know,
believe me.
that's
I have thoughts on the ticket price increase. I'm not a fan of that. Like
I agree.
there are walls all over the parks. You know, they haven't fixed any of the multi-pass or lightning lane, whatever you want to call it at this point.
Mhm.
Like lines are flowing into the common walkways. You can't walk over the bridge anymore with over by Pirates without being in the Pirates line, the queue.
Right, right.
It's a, I mean,
Operationally, it's a mess. It's a mess.
when I took my mother-in-law and we went, like, you know, and we talked about that trip, I told my father-in-law, I said, we really don't need to go past Pirates. Everything is closed. like
Yes.
like Haunted Mansion was still closed. Critter
Oh,
Country's closed. There's no access to Galaxy's Edge. I was like, the you know, like, God forbid we weren't gonna go on the canoes anyways, but you can't go on those. I was just like, I was like, that whole part of the park is done. Let's not even. We don't even have to go there.
right.
So
I mean
yeah,
that's the thing, right? It's like, okay, but we still have no Hyperion. We still have no Fantasyland Theater. We
and
still have no show in the Golden Horseshoe.
I'm
We still have no swing dancing. I mean,
from
go
things
on,
I've
but go ahead, Mark.
from things I've heard, Hyperion might be a pipe dream.
I hear the same thing, Marty. I hear the
Yeah.
same thing, and
So
I hope that's
I
not the case because
there are
that's
rumors.
terrible.
There's rumors, just things that have been being said that I hear from people in the know.
Worst
And
mistake ever.
yeah, I mean, we talked about earlier. You were talking about
Hmm.
the Cocoa area and Hollywood and stuff.
Right?
And yeah, I mean, I can see a I can see a scenario where animation studio is gone and Hyperion's gone, and maybe, I mean, but what do you? I mean, I don't know what you're gonna put. Like, if you're not gonna do Avatar there, what are you doing? Like, you have the backside of the bus system that you can go into. Also, there's a lot of
Yeah.
That's a lot of potential, and it seems like their game management is not on par. Like they don't have a strategy. And like Mike Tyson said, you can have a plan, until you get punched in the face. You know,
Yeah. Well, that's a
I
very
don't
good point.
I don't think they they just don't have the vision, the vision and the shovels to go forward. Like they're not,
Yeah.
they're just not doing this the right way. I mean, I've done a lot of garden projects in my backyard. You got to have a plan. you got to go get the materials from your local hardware store, and you got to put these things down. And I just don't. I'm not seeing any of this.
I don't disagree with you.
It's more blue sky.
It is more blue sky. This whole idea of like, oh, all these projects they're shovel ready. That's not at all.
You pointed this out. And we knew this when you pointed this out, when we saw when we actually looked at the budget and we saw what they were going to what they had to pay for Disney Forward and stuff. We knew, and you were one of the first ones to sit there and say, hey, they don't have to spend this money. Like everything saying that, hey, they're going to spend this amount of money for the Disney Forward project and all this. They don't have to do that. They have a buyout in the contract.
That is interesting. I did not quite know about that detail right there. At least I don't think so. At least
Well, I think like they said that they would spend a certain amount of money for the Disney Forward project, but if they decide to not spend that much money,
yes, you're talking about the disparity between 1.9 and I think 2.5 or something.
Yeah. They have a buyout that they can sit there and backdoor this thing.
Sorry, I thought you meant it in totality. I was like, no. Oh, I didn't quite know about that, but no. Yeah, there's like a $5 million fee that they have to pay, if they don't end up spending $2.5 billion dollars. Right. Which, I mean, come on.
I know.
they're going to spend that $5 million fee. There's nothing to say that they're going to spend anything more than that 1.9. And that's the thing too. You build Avatar, I think that gets you to $1 billion. You round it out with some hotels, resorts, and so forth. You're going to get up there, I think.
Yeah.
But
I think they'll get to the point. Like, I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't. I mean, now's the perfect time to invest. You should be you should be as Disney. You should be doing why is Universal the standard? You should be doing what Universal's doing. Be aggressive. Go at it. Don't hold back on what you used to be.
I don't know why they're holding back, and I don't know why we're in replacement mode with a lot of these projects. I mean, obviously we know what's going on at Walt Disney World, which the river and all that. That's terrible enough, but I think there should be straight expansion for the Disneyland Resort because I don't think it's fully saturated in the market that it's in. I think there's room to grow there, and I think there's international and domestic tourism that they can attract to the Disneyland Resort. I don't know why they don't want to set it up as a world-class destination, and why they're
there's
dragging their feet on all of it.
Yeah, there's absolutely room to grow. They could do this expansion and a third gate in Long Beach.
Yes. I don't think they're going to do it in Long Beach, but
I know. But that was the whole idea for Westcott and stuff that's what I'm saying. It's there's room for the expansion and a third gate. It could be Toy Story lot for all something the size of a Hollywood Studios. And it would generate, people would come, but man, you can't outprice them, man. You can't. I always say, business model wise, you can raise prices or you can decrease the value or entertainment or the product, right? But you can't do both. You can't raise the prices and decrease. That's a recipe for failure.
And I think there were analysts from Wall Street. I can't remember if they were from Goldman Sachs or somebody else, but they were actually talking about that. They were saying this $60 billion effort towards the parks is an attempt to justify these year-over-year increases that we see for the parks product, the ticket price increases and so forth. And it's that's good, that's true, But we know, Marty, that these things don't spread out of thin air instantaneously. It takes a number of years to get to that point. Why, in the interim, would you raise prices to this aggressive level without having something augmented? I'm glad Paint the Night is coming back.
Oh, yeah.
We need a lot more than that, though.
Hey, but I got to be honest. Like, so I've been a season AP holder for 30 years. 32 years, something like that, I think. And this is like really the first time that me and my wife were having the discussion on not killing the Disney. Like, we're not going to just like not be on, AP holders, but we might not. I might not get the Inspire. All of a sudden, like, the price increases. Like, parking's not that big a deal. Like, Garden Walk offers things. I always say that, man, Garden Walk would make so much money if they just demoed themselves and made a parking lot and they charged $10 for parking. They'd make more money than they're making now. Like, just to walk across the street to Disney. But Garden Walk does parking there. The Believe Key gives you like 50% off at Toy Story.
Yeah.
But there's financials that start getting into this, and now I never had to think about that before, right? I never had to sit there and say, hey, listen, let me take a look at, like, I know they put the charts up and it says, hey, go this many times, it pays for itself. It's not as simple as that. Sometimes those dates are luxury dates, things that I just decide that I want to do. I don't necessarily, well, you never have to go to Disney, but there's definitely there's a mathematical element to this now, where you sit there, you look at this and you say, well, you know what? Maybe we don't need the Inspire key. Maybe we just go one Believe key, we get the 50% off parking, and then we go Imagine on the wife and son. I mean, everybody else makes it so much. Like, I just got SeaWorld. I got a SeaWorld AP like a month ago, and it comes with like 7 or like 8 bring a friend dates. So my AP actually gets my son in 8 times. And my wife's a teacher, so she can get in. So, like, as a family, we only need 1 annual pass for that particular park. And everybody gets in, for the whole year. And I think our payments are like, I don't know, like $15 a month. Knott's. I'm looking at my Knott's thing right now. They I have an advertisement because I got to renew. They start at $6.50 a month.
Right.
That, like, the increase for the Inspire is $8. The Knott's season pass is cheaper than just the increase. That's crazy.
I mean, it's absolutely wild when you consider the broader market and you can see the value that comes from. And here's the thing: this even goes beyond theme parks. I know, Disneyland Resorts, I think cited main competition for the resort is like even Vegas. It's like, well, even Vegas though, you're not spending the kind of money that you are at Disneyland. And it's like, Disneyland's great, it's awesome, but the product has gone down a little bit, especially on the entertainment side of things, which would encourage so much visitation per year. And you have to deal with the reservation system and all that headache and all of that.
Yeah,
versus
we still have that.
Knott's Berry Farm, it's a flat fee. You get in, you enjoy yourself. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. We still have the reservation system. We still have penalties. If my son wakes up with a fever in the morning, I get a strike. And you mentioned Vegas. I go to Vegas all the time, like 6-7 times a year, right? I'll tell you what, man, like, I'm looking forward to Universal's haunt out there. I'll be honest, man. Like just even that is like it's a little building. It's not even a theme park, but have a 360-day available Halloween haunt situation in a building.
So cool. So cool.
And in Vegas of all places, it's like perfectly lined up. I think they were genius in that.
I do. I think there's a viable product for a market that will support it. I don't think it could. I don't know if it works anywhere else, but Vegas, it's a done deal.
Vegas, it's good 365 days a year.
Exactly.
Every day is Halloween in Vegas.
Yeah.
it's so
true.
perfect. It's perfect. It's a great thing, man. You know, and then I look at some of like even what Mattel's doing out in your neck of the woods. I know I talked to you privately and I said, hey, you know, I know you want to check that place out, probably just because of, you know, being a theme park connoisseur. But I said, man, Hot Wheels, you got my kid right away.
Yeah.
Like everybody's doing something like in you know, with everything going on in Florida as far as you know, Universal Studios and the Texas thing. Like I'm telling you, man, that nobody should be sleeping on that because because if I'm taking a flight, so I'm going to Florida and we're gonna go do you know, Disney World. Our layover is in Dallas Fort Worth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not this year, but if my son was a little bit younger in 2 years or whatever, that's our layover. I might stay, like if my 3 or 4-year-old can't make a full flight and we need to get a hotel, we might stay in Dallas Fort Worth. That's a 30-minute drive to where Universal's putting this kids park. And I'm telling you, man, I've been to enough Sesame Street parks. I've seen the stuff that SeaWorld has done towards kids. I was a season pass holder to Legoland last year. Kid parks matter, dude. They matter. They have a lot of people. There's a massive appeal to 48 and under on the inch ride. And if you can sit there and you can get a kid into a park and he can ride everything.
I 100% agree. I think it's a market that has been underserved by the big two. Universal's kind of dipping their toe into it, which I think they can absolutely do. Obviously, it is going to be of the kids' variety, but it's a great introductory park for bigger, better things down the road. Hey, I like Universal parks as a kid. Let's go ahead and go to the big one. You know, that's later down the road there, but it's a great introduction to that idea. But also, too, it serves a community that is, like you said, growing, is supported right now, and could stand to gain from an installation like that. I think it's awesome.
Legoland's not hurting. I mean, they had the whole market cornered basically. Now everybody's like, hey, everyone's kind of like, hey, you know what? That looks a little appealing. I might like some of that money too. I want some of that. It's
viable, yeah. Yeah,
you know, and you don't have to do a whole lot. It's like, you know, like the Mattel thing going in Arizona. I think it's 20 acres or something. Like it's it's not very big. It's the size of like Galaxy's Edge, but it's viable and people are talking about it and it's going to get people going there, man. I'm telling you, man. Like, hey, most of the time when I'm going to Arizona, it's go down Route 66 to Seligman or I'm going to spring training.
Yes.
Now I have something else that I'm going to do that's actively on my radar.
And it should, I hopefully it's opened for in time when the Cardinal Stadium will host the Super Bowl. I don't know if it will. I know they're targeting that. I know there's a series of resorts that are also popping up next to it. So it'll be a profitable venture, I would think. We'll have to see. Theme parks in Arizona haven't done historically super well because of the heat, but apparently they have that figured out as well.
It's so funny, dude. Like when I go to spring training every few years, like normally you go around the stadium and there's like Purell or something, right? Like hand sanitizer stands. You guys have sunscreen lotion stands, where you go in and you put your hand under there and it gives you sunscreen. I was like, I was trying to wash my hands, like, because I was next to a scorpion, like the last time I was there, and I sat there and I went to go wash my hands, and it was like it pumped out sunscreen, and I was like, yeah, that's when you know you're in Arizona.
That is indeed how you know you're in Arizona. I want to go ahead and round up this paint the night story right here real fast, and then I think do you have time for one more after that, Marty?
No, I got about like 10 minutes and I got to drop
10 minutes?
out, man.
Okay. That's completely fine there. One, the part I'll include about the paint the night story is that, so people were like, well, you know, if you debut like the paint the night portion of it before the price increase that was just recently announced, you know, it might be a little bit of a gut punch. And it's like, yeah, it's true, but this is usually when they would debut these things simultaneously. Like they would have a price increase, but they would tell you, hey, we are adding entertainment to the resort, so people feel comfortable with that increase. They didn't do that this time. They waited a couple of days on that, and they actually had the price increase take place during the cover of the hurricane that had occurred. So you didn't even get the full impact from those price increases. But you can see like Forbes had an article on it. You could see CNN had an article on it. Bloomberg had an article on it, on these price increases themselves. When you look at the Paint the Night coverage, it's like Laughing Place, Theme Park Insider. It's a lot of theme park oriented sites and so forth that got that message out there. What I'm trying to describe is that people picked up on the price increase, but they didn't pick up on the fact that Paint the Night was actually coming back. And would that move the needle for somebody who wasn't a local? I'm not sure. But again, I think Disney kind of botched this. They could have made a real big splash. Hey, 70th anniversary, it's happening next year. Here's the entertainment rollout. We're getting something back in the Hyperion. We're getting something back in the Fantasyland Theater. We got all these entertainment options, including Paint the Night. It's going to be fantastic. But there will be a price increase. Instead, it was like, price increase. For what? Paint the Night. Is it worth 6%? I don't know. But that's kind of my feelings on it. Maybe I'm too cynical. Marty,
No,
am I off base here?
No, I don't think so at all. I feel exactly the same way. Like, I don't mind paying for quality. Like that's why that's why Disney APs got to $1,000 in the first place. We paid for quality. Like I mean, the top Universal Pass is 570, and it gives me skip the line after 3:00. You know, Knott's Berry Farm. You know, it's charming as it is. It's a $200 a year pass. Yeah, $1,700 or $1,700 for the top pass for the Inspire. You know, and look, maybe I'm bitter, but like on a parking structure I paid for. You know, I always like to sit there and bring that out. True. Like I'm just saying, you know,
the city did pay for it.
Yeah, parking structure I paid for. I still pay for, like, in order to get the right to park in there.
Yeah, $35.
Yeah,
just a scant, you know. I mean, 35.
I'm telling you, there had to be an increase because there's an increase every year, right? It's something they do. I don't know that they had to go. They went. This felt like it was kind of pretty high. Like when you're talking about 6% of $1,000, that's not as bad as like 6% on $1,500. Like now it's like you keep going with the same percentage, but that's a lot more money. like you keep going with the same percentage, but every single time you're going with that percentage, it's based off of the old price. It's just like going crazy. And I just think, I mean, I don't remember. I think I paid like $200 for the park hopper pass when DCA first opened.
Ooh.
I mean,
wow, really?
Yeah,
You got one?
yeah. Oh, I was there on opening day, dude. I rode California Screaming 3 times in a row, and they didn't even tell me to get off. It was like Knott's rules. They were like, "Hey, ain't nobody's here. Ain't nobody
Well,
is here. Just ride it again."
You know who was there around the opening as well? Lou, you made your return.
Lou.
Sorry about that, guys.
My boy.
My internet suddenly started playing games. I got one of those notices that says, due to sunspot activity on certain days, you may have problems. That must have been it. But anyway,
Gotcha.
You that
you were there.
You know, I was there.
Around DCA's opening?
I was literally there on opening day.
Yeah, same as me, Lou. Man, it would have been cool to run into you at the time.
Yes, likewise.
But it was wild, right? Like nobody, like I was just telling Vash that like I went on California Screaming and they didn't even tell me to get off the ride. It was like Knott's Berry Farm on like a Wednesday. They said just re-ride. You know?
That's so great.
Well, but see, thank you, Nita. The issue that always I thought killed what otherwise would have been a great opening in the first year or so. People talked about, well, whether it's mostly locals and it's about California, and we've been to the real Yosemite. Why should we go to a fake one? But that wasn't it. When you have a mostly locals park that is the most successful park in history, even with Walt Disney World being bigger, I mean, it's just in longevity's sake. And you say, hey, we're going to do what you've always been asking us to do, build a second gate. Ooh, wow, what's it going to be? Ooh, okay, well, that might be interesting. So you're going to let me see it, right? Sure, pay the money. They never did the equivalent of a park hopper. Never.
Right.
And so people who had maybe, we say locals because, as you know, Southern California, everything from Vegas to the Mexican border to Santa Barbara is local, But if it's a couple hours drive and dedicating a day to it, and I'm going to get all the way there and see this new thing right across what they now so grandiosely call Esplanade, and you're not going to let me go in unless I buy a wholly separate full boat ticket?
Yeah.
If they'd have told people, listen, come for Disneyland, as long as you're in the park by 10 a.m. at Disneyland, then after 6, you can go across the way and check out the other one. I would have done that. Well, if you'd have said for an extra $20, you can do both, I would have done that. But they never, ever, ever made any kind of park hopper deal or promotion. And people basically said, I've gone to the expense, the effort of coming. I'm not going to take a chance on a pig and a poke. I came here for Pirates of the Caribbean and Splash Mountain, and that's what I want. And so people didn't sample it. I think it was, people talk about, it wasn't so good. I think it was a much better park when it opened than people gave it credit for.
I think it wasn't until I think it took a full year or so before they actually offered
exactly
the AP park hopper, which I bought. I was there for opening day, but you, to your credit, I mean, for crying out loud, technically Fresno is Southern California. But nobody considers anything past like LA, like or the Grapevine,
right?
That's Southern California, and so like there's a lot of things like I
just go by Jerry Dunphy. From the mountains to the sea to all of Southern California. Good evening. That local newsman talk.
So sure, like Pixar Pier is obviously Santa Monica, Santa Cruz based, right?
Well,
like that type of
because
thing.
It's got Wolfgang Puck in it.
Right. Yeah. And
I told my Mondavi story, right? Mondavi had the winery and the restaurants. And that opening day, I happen to know the Mondavis because I write about food and wine, or did. And Michael Mondavi was there. And he was standing up on that hillside that you walk by as you go around the corner towards the pier. And this little Disney girl was about to kick him out. Thought he was a guest who'd wandered up into the grapevines. And I said, Miss, you don't know who that is, do you? She says, no, sir. Who? I said, let's just say he's outstanding in his field. And then he came over and shook her hand and all that, but because Mike's a good guy. But anyway, it was really kind of nice. But if you hadn't told me, hey, come take a look at what we did, we're proud of it. We know you'll want to pay to come back next time. But they never did that.
I think there was it's so funny, like, because like you look back now, like with Disney owning The Simpsons, but there was a Simpsons episode where Homer needed to go into the witness protection program. He needed to go someplace that nobody would ever find him, so he hopped the fence to get into California Adventure.
So funny. So funny. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look. That's got to be on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
There's a couple of Disney California Adventure references in The Simpsons.
Yeah.
It's funny.
It makes you wonder if somebody worked on it and was not happy. As far as the writing staff at Simpsons Land, you know. But I don't know.
Yeah, I just feel like with the price increase, they gotta start bringing stuff back. You can't take 10 things away and bring back one thing. Like, it would have been great.
Yeah, that's my issue.
Yeah, it would have been great if they just like a year ago, if they told us like Paint the Night was coming back before they took away 10 other all of Avengers Campus.
Let's remember how many times have we seen the farewell performance of the Electric Parade?
Yeah, right, exactly.
And then buy some light bulbs so we can buy new ones, and then we'll make it again. But the big thing, when you talked about the ham-handed announcements, this is the same mistake they keep making. I mentioned it here a month or so ago when they said, hey, Epcot's finally finished. And look at this amazing space we have for shows and for individualizing it for each of the festivals. And they showed us this tired junior college study hall with no furniture. And, you know.
Nah, I know. I gotta say, man, I was like very disheartened when I was watching the earlier portion of the video, because we're going to Disney World for the first time with my son, and I just looking at what Epcot has become.
But
I'm
the
just
thing
like,
was,
I got Christmas lights that work better.
They showed it, and then they said, "Oh, by the way, about 3 weeks later, pardon me, we're closing it to."
Might have lost Lou again.
No. I think he's.
He's me.
That was my cough.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But they opened it to great non-acclaim, and then 2-3 weeks later closed it, telling you they were redesigning for the next festival, whichever one it was, and then opened it again. And I'm going, why didn't you just hold back the opening in the first place and open it as part of the festival? And same thing with Tiana. Wait till you got it working. Even if it means, you know what, we just have a little more work to do.
When it goes,
we want it right for you.
It goes.
When you open it, you make a big deal, and it's broken, and then you say, "Oh, we're going to fix it and close it and open it." And
it goes even further back than even those, because Vash was in Toontown with me on its opening day, I sat there and I told Vash, I said, look at this turf. It's day one, and it's coming apart. It's failing on the seams. I was like, it's 3 hours old.
You want a little nostalgia? Ready? Toontown. Dun, 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 dun. That was the music they wrote for the opening, for God's sakes. And
but that was another thing.
It's a case of left hand not knowing what right hand's doing over and over again.
I watched a child sink in sink into like mulch that was put over, like, so they have these, there's trees, and then there's these like aerators that go next to trees, like these holes that are like 12 inches round or whatever, and they like breathe the tree or whatever. They didn't cover that. They didn't cover one of those with a grate, and they just mulched over it. And I watched a kid on day one of Toontown sink their leg straight in. Like, Like, and that thing was probably like 6 feet deep.
And you know, if the PR department got hold of that nowadays, greatest sinking of guests into floor at Disneyland since 1955, because opening day everybody talked about people with high heel shoes getting stuck in the asphalt, you know, because it was still new. So anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, they did. I mean, and we saw the progression of Toontown after that over the course of a year. It just got worse and worse. The paint coming off of the lamp post, paint chipping off of the tree that was designed for kids, infants, toddlers to play on, and you know, I think we all know, like, a toddler is not going to think twice about putting a paint chip in its mouth. You know, like picking something up and doing something with it. Yeah, that's horrible. The water fountain was down for 6 months. It took a full year before Donald Duck's water splash pad even opened. So
Yeah,
they just weren't ready at all. I mean, they weren't even ready for the stroller situation. They originally put the strollers on the grass in front of Roger Rabbit.
Right.
And I told Dre, I was like, this ain't gonna last. I was like, you know how many strollers coming through here? And then so now they have them going down the walkway, you know, on the way in. But I was like, why put out this grass if you're just gonna park if the plan is to park strollers on it, you know?
Well,
It's
to the degree
wild.
that we ever say they plan to anything, okay, but planning is not what they do. Reacting.
The funny thing is like, these are common sense. Like, these
absolutely.
are things that a general guest is going to see. Oh, that's going to be an issue. On day one, I was there with Vash, and I sat there and said, that's a problem right there. That's a problem right there. We pointed them out. We talked about them, and we discussed it. And you know, and then 4 months later, they're fixing this stuff, you know, or being forced to fix it because they have to, because kids are eating paint chips.
And they're delicious. And you can get them you can get them at a special bonus price, by the way.
Oh, the $10. Yes.
Yeah. Paint cakes, they call them.
Sandwich.
Paint cakes, not chips. Paint cakes. We do have paint chip cookies, however, for $18.
Vash, I got to roll out, buddy. Thank you so much, man. It was a pleasure. Always a pleasure talking with you, Lou. Thanks, guys, for having me on.
Sorry,
I
I was
appreciate
absent for much of it, because when I came back and you were there, I thought, oh, damn, same thing. I missed a lot of good stuff from Mark.
Well, I saw you. I saw you. You bound, like you lost connection, and I was like, I'm coming in for Dre. Like, I'm gonna give him somebody to talk to.
Oh, I'm so glad. I was hoping that's what happened. But,
thank you so much, Barney.
All right,
although
boys.
He's perfectly capable of talking to himself.
Oh yeah.
As that secret bug I put in his bedroom will reveal. Oh no, sorry, never mind.
Hey, thanks, guys. Hey, have a great week. All right.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure.
Awesome. Great stuff there.
Anyway, sorry about that. I see lots of nice people, Nita and a bunch of other people welcoming me back and being glad I'm okay. And I'm fine. It just suddenly everything was going slow motion and jittery, and I gave up. So anyway.
All right. You're totally fine right there. It's all good. It's all good.
I don't know what I was saying, but it must have been brilliant because I can't remember.
You're always brilliant, Lou. You're always fascinating.
No, I'm not. I just never let the non-brilliance out in public.
Well,
because folks, I've said this before, but I feel like you're all my my close buds here. None of this is rehearsed. Not just a live show on Sunday, but none of what I do on any of these channels. I might get a clue occasionally as to what the subject is going to be, but that's basically it. So whether it's one of the regular shows where I'm on the panel, or whether it's one of these, you get an instant message from Pro and it says, hey, you want to be on with me in 10 minutes to talk about whatever? And I go, sure, you know. but I don't practice. It just happens. So there you go.
Hey,
No more rehoisting and noising a pod. We know every pod by heart. Anyway, there's another little bit of nostalgia.
You do an impressive job at keeping up with us, Lou. I will say, we throw a lot at you, and man,
well,
you've got
enough about me.
responses
What else you
for
got,
everyone.
or are we going to say goodbye to the lovely people? I don't know.
Well, it's up to you, Lou. Do you want to cover Epic Universe? Might have an opening date.
Sure, go ahead. That I'd love to see.
All right.
In fact, did
Well,
I send you? What did I do with that meme? I think I put it in the.
I think that's a wonderful place to go because this is the story that we've all been waiting for. Before we get to it, though, I want to go ahead and get these super chats right here. Just make sure that, you know that we appreciate you donating to us. The mom, again, with $1.99. Do appreciate that very much. Marty, 200% right. Quality matters. I do agree, and Marty agrees as well. I believe he saw that before he left, so I'll make sure he gets the message. Quality does matter, and it's something that Disney has been lacking for some
It used to be, in somebody else's expression, the quality went in before the name went on. Now, there's nothing but the name sometimes.
Terrible. Disney fan 55 with $5. Thank you so much. I'm really excited for the opening of Mattel Adventure Park. Arizona has been missing a great theme park since Legend City shut down in 1983. Indeed, it did. Very sad to have seen it go. It was.
I sure hope these people building the Mattel Park have taken the advice of Big Bob, because it's too hot to go to a theme park in Phoenix.
I think that's the number one concern amongst proprietors. So
yes, absolutely. And it's a dry heat, but that's funny. Earlier today on the other channel, they were talking about heat and humidity, and well, not directly. They're talking about coming off of the water rides because it was in relation to the little bit of splash on Big Thunder, with the dinosaur thing.
Yeah.
And they said people don't like to get wet because they spend all the rest of the day wet and humid. I'm going, but not at Disneyland. They don't. As far as it dries out, So,
sure. Oh boy. Well, speaking of things that hopefully will be dry, maybe in terms of paint, but also in terms of weather. It's a bad transition, but here you go. Scott Gooston here. Universal expects Epic Universe to be fully opened as early as Memorial Day weekend next year, with tickets on sale as soon as this month, according to the Wall Street Journal. And guess what, folks? We got the article right here. Wall Street Journal. Universal plans early summer launch of new park with marquee Harry Potter ride. Wizard Battle attraction expected to be a major draw as Universal takes on Disney. This by Robbie Whelan and Jacob Passy, I believe. October 15, 2024. Universal is readying its attack on Disney's theme park stronghold in Florida. The company is planning for its 750-acre Universal Epic Universe Park to be fully open as early as Memorial Day weekend of next year, earlier than expected, with tickets on sale as soon as this month, according to people familiar with the matter. If successful, Universal's new park could be a major broadside in the theme park wars, which have intensified in recent years as live entertainment has become more central to generating growth at big media companies like Comcast, Universal's parent company, and Disney. Universal said it hasn't yet confirmed an opening date. The timing of the planned opening could change. Before we're going on here, Lou, your initial thoughts. Memorial Day, summer 2025.
Sure, why not?
Do you like it?
I think this article has a couple of interesting aspects. First of all,
Please.
it being the Wall Street Journal, they have decided that their audience, which is largely the investment community and people who want to be in it, wouldn't know the other IPs the way they know Harry Potter. We've gone how far here before we've mentioned anything about Isle of Berk or even a Nintendo being involved.
It's a fair point.
So that's kind of interesting to me. And that is the Dark Universe portal, because the Harry Potter one has the hand with the wand at the top.
Mm-hmm.
But
indeed.
Second thing is that there was a lot of speculation in this past couple of weeks about hurricane damage delaying the opening. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but Alicia over at Theme Park Stop has a new update that just came out yesterday or the day before.
Ooh.
And basically nothing bad happened at all. And not only that, it could almost be seen as a test, in particular, of their water systems, because they show you pictures taken like the day after the hurricane and then the next day of all of those pools and fountains and things. And they've got one hell of a filter system, because totally cloudy, muddy water turned to crystal clear. You can see the bottom of the pool again in basically 24 hours.
Whoa.
I was very impressed with that. And obviously, this is what better chance to test it, to soft open it to nature, if you will, than this past experience. So rather than seeing things falling down or things, I think there was one tree in the area around the werewolf themed coaster that you could see had been blown over, because those wooden support things that are usually on the bottom of new trees that are trucked in were still on it, and it was tilted over one of the paths. But that's a matter of 10 minutes with a crane to fix. So
very encouraging.
It really impressed me because, I mean, a finished park is one thing, but a construction site, they showed one of the areas where the staging of stuff is. For example, in earlier things of this, I don't know how many of you've seen, I'm sure you have, the street scenes of the buildings that are supposed to be Paris from the Fantastic Beasts movies. And on top of them are chimney pots of various colors and shapes. Well, those are individual, about 6 or 8 foot long units. And they had them all staged, and it was like a field of chimney pots. Oh. When you have loose items like that and big wind, you kind of expect the wind to pick one up and throw it up against something or just tip it over. But they aren't, and they weren't. So they took precautions. Let's just say that. So I think this article's timing may be partly because that became an issue in the last week or so.
That's a fair point. I never really thought of it that way. But
saying, hey, if you thought this whole thing was going to be delayed or later than they said, no, it's probably going to be earlier, which we also all said when they first came out with the opening, which is like January and February, of the Stella Nova and the Terra Luna, the two smaller hotels. And they started giving discounts, packages. If you bought a 4-day trip or a 3-day trip, you got the hotel for like $140 a night or something.
Right.
All of those deals ran basically from when the hotel opens to, and it was all of them ending like right around April, May. And I thought, well, then the park won't be open till then, because they're not going to give those hotel rates away with the park open. That's to kill the worst disincentive lull time, which is the couple of months before it opens, because people will say, well, why should I go now when 2 months from now I can get all this other stuff? So I think that's all how those familiar with the various announcements at various times expected it to go for at least the last 6 months. And I think it will.
I think you're right. Kiki and Luca asking, please don't let it all be screens. I can tell you right now, Kiki and Luca.
No, it's not.
They have taken that into account, like Lou was just about to say there.
In the announcements for, I forget which, I think it was for Dark Universe, where they literally said the words, we're not talking screens, we're talking real stuff here, because they know they're sensitive on that.
Yeah.
So
a lot of groundbreaking animatronics, especially in that area in particular, but there is some really great groundbreaking stuff everywhere within Epic Universe. It'll just blow minds. It's crazy just how much quality they are imbuing in this park. Meeting that Memorial Day target would enable Universal to take advantage of a full summer vacation season and would be a coup in the company's long-running rivalry with nearby Walt Disney World. Universal has long said that the park was likely to open in summer of 2025, though fans and theme park industry watchers grew worried earlier this year when the company rolled out a series of updates that listed the opening date as simply 2025. In the early stages of the theme park's opening, Universal plans to require that visitors purchase multi-day passes in order to enter Epic Universe, travel agents briefed on the plans said. Those passes would also include admission to Universal's other Orlando parks, including Universal Studios Florida, these agents said. Ticket holders would be able to spend one of the days at Epic Universe, in part because demand is anticipated to be high, and the company wants to avoid overcrowding.
And so, by the way,
please,
when they announced those package deals, a month or so ago, a little longer?
Yeah, a little longer.
And everybody got all excited about, you can only get in if you buy the whole. I don't believe that for a minute. I believe that the first couple of weeks, the equivalent of a soft opening period, maybe.
Right.
But I think they never said this is the only. They said, here's the first package plans.
Yes.
You can't convince me that that's going to persist as the only way to get into this park.
No.
And by the way, Universal has clearly, because of the stories we've seen about the technology of the security and admissions process for this park, and eventually for all of them, because they've been testing some of it at the other parks. What profiteth a company if they openeth great animatronics, but their security and admissions policy makes you line up for hours or get stuck or never get in? They're trying to build a whole new, you should pardon the expression, mousetrap on that score, as well as on the entertainment score, because that's part of your experience. If you go to this great thing, and I just spent an hour and a half waiting to get to a dumb guy with a backward protocol, look through my purse and make sure I'm not bringing in a bomb. They had to improve that too to do this. And of course, in turn, that will improve the experience at their existing parks when they put all that stuff in.
Absolutely. These are supply limited products, right? So there is a very finite supply. Epic Universe is going to have unbelievable demand. We've just never seen a park open like this in the social media era. We haven't actually had a new theme park opened by one of the main two proprietors since 1999.
You said in the social media era. We got to remember, was there this much anticipation about Magic Kingdom at the opening of Disney World? You bet there was, but we didn't all have a place to go talk to each other about it.
Right. Well, I'm just saying that the social media era has been a boon for theme park operations ever since,
it's a two-edged sword, because you get all these morons talking about
Oh, sure.
I don't know.
That's true. But it just, we haven't had a new park in North America from the big two since, like I said, 1999, since the opening of Islands of Adventure.
Right.
And this park, even at full build-out, will probably only be able to reasonably supply maybe 30 to 35,000 people per day. You have to be able to offset that demand somehow. That's why they're doing it via a multi-day pass.
And
at least
you
initially.
have to make sure there is not just space, but a good experience for those people paying the premiums to stay at the Helios for the private entrance.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you have to maintain the experience for everybody. And Universal in particular has been very experience focused. So this is one of the ways to do so, and you don't cannibalize
Universal
your
has had
troubles
with everything being screens that's been noticed. Universal, let's face it, just to be fair, when we talk about Disney closing down the core of Epcot or taking forever to build Tiana or whatever, let's remember that whole Atlantis area at Islands that's basically been a walk through in order to get to Harry Potter and Jurassic, where ever since they basically slow walked that ride to oblivion, which was a great ride, by the way. It was a great experience, the magical water world of the underground of wherever. But I mean, the problem with opening something based not on a well-known IP is it's hard to define it to people. See, and that's another thing. Like I say, I don't think most people who read the Wall Street Journal would know Isle of Burke from a hole in the ground. I'm kind of surprised they didn't touch on Nintendo and the technology of that Donkey Kong ride. But what the heck?
They might have included. I mean, they have a big Harry Potter Ministry of Magic section in this article, so they I'm guessing mentioned at least some of that, but obviously they're not. They're not dishing out the big updates that we've been seeing so lavishly put out by Universal themselves. The approach of selling multi-day tickets could prod visitors into spending multiple days at Universal's properties and make it harder for some visitors to justify buying passes to Disney's parks during the same Florida trip, which is a common move for many families. Universal's Epic Universe could snatch about 1 million visitors from Disney during 2025 and 2026 and boost overall attendance at Universal's 3 parks in the area by more than 8 million, according to estimates made this year by Moffett-Nathanson. We've been keeping track for those visitors. Of those figures for you here on That Park Place Network. So again, I mean, I think this is going to be a real boon for the area, real boon for Universal, and Disney better be ready. I think this is why they're announcing discounts so early, around the time it was suspected that Universal would open.
And going back to what we were talking about the absence of a show in the Hyperion being a huge hole in the offerings in California, with Epic Universe, between the show that's already up and running in Nintendo in Japan, and the Burke Flying Dragon show, and the Harry Potter Cirque show. That's 3 major, 1,500 seat auditorium, 20-minute or longer presentations to choose from within this park. So there's an absence of not 1 being taken out, but 3 being put in to their panoply. And when you think about it, there aren't really shows like that in their other parks, are there? I mean, there's nothing of a Cirque du Soleil quality that I can remember at the others. Probably the only thing that was and went away was when the Blue Man Group was there at the nexus of the parks on the other side of town. You know, when they were in that in what used to be the Nickelodeon stuff.
Right.
So,
and anyway. they had the Sinbad stunt show as well, which is not quite to the degree.
But they've had stunt shows. I mean, Waterworld and the stunt shows and everything else are part of their heritage. But all I'm saying is that issue of the capacity of the park, if at any given moment in 3 possible places, there are between the 3 of them, say 4,000 or 5,000 people sitting down and watching something, as opposed to being in queue for a ride or fighting for a dining experience or whatever. And also just the beauty of Celestial Park, of people just wanting to wander around in it, you know. In the history of theme parks, if you go back to London in right around the time of the Napoleonic Wars and all that, there were these huge gardens that had, you know, maybe they'd have a medicine show someplace or whatever, but lots of empty of attractions, just beautiful strolling, and maybe more than strolling in some of the darker corners, and maybe commercially, but just a place for people to go and feel good about being there is in the tradition of this too. So, in a way that, for example, City Walk isn't, because City Walk is a dressed up mall, you know?
Right.
So, anyway.
I know we have a lot of viewers here that are very excited about the opening of Epic Universe and what that might bring. I think it's going to bring a lot of, like you said, Lou, a lot of stuff that Universal hasn't really attempted in the past. I know I can just tell you right now, the How to Train Your Dragon show is already doing gangbusters business and blowing minds over there in Beijing. Universal, where it made its debut, knowing that it was going to be rolled out in Epic Universe eventually. And that Harry Potter show looks very, very interesting. So a lot of good stuff on that front. But speaking of shows, Lou, I think you got one of your own that you got to tell the people about.
I do? Oh, I do. And it's about theme parks too. All right, let's get through the as I call it, the do not remove this mattress under penalty of law tag, that is. And the if you're caught or killed, the VashSky will disavow all knowledge of your actions section. The Genre Guys is an idea for a show that, frankly, I came up with the wonderful Hangry Table, the brilliant Lauren Connor, and he's along for the ride, me, taking a movie, a recent or not so recent movie, but a non-modern day $400 million woke disaster movie that wasn't intended to be a disaster, and taking one of those films and diving into it and exploring it and talking about how it came to be and what's good and what's bad and why you might enjoy seeing it if you somehow missed it, or seeing it again if you saw it. And we've done things as old as Gunga Din and Robin Hood and lots of things like that, but also more contemporary movies. And this one is a rather unique one that just came out here. And the way these things work is, if you are a member of the Pro Show, you get these right away when they're done. For example, we just did Rocky, and it'll be, or it's already up, I guess, probably by today. this past weekend. And but 3 months later, after it's been 90 days of exclusivity to members of the Pro channel, it comes here as a freebie. So you get once and twice. And when it comes here, the other ones we kind of do on the fly, and we have a few stills. But here we have the benefit of the thoughtful and artistic editorial work of VashSky, who takes the basic soundtrack of what we do and what we did visually and enhances it visually with lots more stills and lots more information. So see it once, see it twice, tell us about it. And that's the most recent one to come here, Roller Coaster, which is a movie that was made totally not for artistic reasons originally. It was made purely based on the fact that Universal had invested in a technological movie theater gimmick called Sensurround, which with enormous, and when I say enormous, we're talking 10 by 10 or bigger boxes, subwoofers. Before you even knew the term subwoofer, they were doing it. And the idea was that the sounds that they emanated vibrated the air in the theater in a way that made you literally feel the impact of what was going on. Now, the first one was the movie Earthquake, which made you feel earthquakes, and that was swell. The movie, I watched it again recently thinking we should do it. Nah, not the greatest disaster movie. Even Victoria Principal in a skin-tight stunt girl outfit did not save that movie. That's all I can say about it. But, and Chuck Heston and other good people. So then they said, well, what else can we do now that we spent $1,500 at theater, which was a lot of money then, retrofitting them for this thing. And their second idea was, how about a war movie? That's got lots of vibrations with bombs and airplanes and tanks and all the other good things that create an audio pyrotechnicality, if there's such a word. I'll admit that to the English language on the grounds of a pyrotechnicality. If you coin it, you can say it. Anyway, so they took the Battle of Midway. Now, this is not the Midway movie you've seen since with Woody Harrelson as Chester Nimitz. This is the Universal one with music by John Williams, with Chuck Heston and Henry Fonda and a bunch of other people. So the third time they wanted to go to this well, they said, what the heck else can we do? We did earthquakes and we did World War II. I know, theme parks, somebody thought of. And so the rumble and the vibration of the roller coasters in this movie, where Timothy Bottoms is a technically adept, evil, cold-blooded blackmailer who points out during the movie that the theme park business is particularly susceptible to pressure when it comes to goodwill with the public and safety concerns and PR, which we've seen happen in the real world. And he decides to start blowing up roller coasters. Now, understand, you don't need to blow up a roller coaster to ruin it and kill people, because what he has are these little tiny radio-controlled explosive devices that are about the size of, 2 packs of cigarettes put together. And he sticks them by figuring out the momentum and the angle and the gravity just at the right place on just one of the rails of a roller coaster, so that one spot being hit at that speed by that train will send the whole train flying off the track and hurt a lot of people. And George Siegel, who you see in the middle there, who's the star of the movie, is basically Southern California's theme park OSHA guy. He's the one who normally in the course of his work, goes out and inspects these things, and who finds that after several of them have gone, that there's a bad guy. And he calls in his boss, Henry Fonda, to see if he can go to this meeting that he found being held by the owners of the theme parks. And there he tells them they need a professional. They've got a criminal. At which point they go to the FBI, and Richard Widmark is the FBI guy in charge, who's contemptuous of everybody, like so many experts are. Anyway, it's a fun, somebody called it a Hitchcock movie without Hitchcock. It was written partially, shared credit, by the two guys, William Reed Whitfield and Alan Balter, I guess it is, who created Columbo and a lot of other great mystery things. So it's a mystery with theme parks, with roller coasters, and the great, wonderful music of Lalo Schifrin, making everything from the string quartets the bad guy likes to listen to on his Walkman while he's planting his bombs, to kiddie rides, to adventure rides, to, roller coasters. Anyway, that's the new one that just got released here. And so you can go watch it and then maybe go watch it. I think you should. And our whole point with this series is there's lots of stuff out there that you should buy the physical media of before the hissy-fitting, touchy-feely folks put in trigger warnings or actually re-edit the movies to remove things they find politically incorrect that the rest of us just call entertainment. And then, of course, if that and this show and wherever else they call me into isn't enough, this guy whose face appears above my head here, people, you'll never know how hard VashSky works for your entertainment. And those of you who support us with super chats and stuff, we really appreciate, or at least he does, because he's a pro at this. I'm an amateur, which means I have a big mouth and never stop talking, as I'm about to do. So pay attention. Sundays, 2 p.m. Eastern, every Sunday, we have, you want to change the, yeah, there it is, the Hollywood Backlot with Lou and you live, where Vash and I take on all comers with any questions or ideas you have to talk about regarding this business that is known as show. And thank you very much, the mom. We appreciate you. Anyway, that's what we do. We talk a lot. I've just proven that. I'll stop now. Thank you.
No, you're fine, Lou. You're fine.
No, I'm not. I got nothing else to say on these subjects. Well, unless you press me, in which case I've always got something else to say, which I have proven to my great embarrassment over and over.
Hollywood Backlot with Lou and You is a great show in which Lou gives us the lowdown on all things Hollywood, whether it's the movies, production, cast, stars. You can think of it. He's got a story for it. It is fantastic and has generated.
And I have even added to the comment section of that recent one some stuff I forgot to say during the show. So go back there and look.
Perfect. It's perfect. And again, if you want to send us a question via email, you can do so at t3ponline@yahoo.com. You can also present us questions in the comment section. However, those are harder to track. So if you want to make sure we see your question, you can go ahead and use that email provided. What is it? Genre Guys is fantastic. It's absolutely amazing. You can see the Genre Guys as soon as they are released, like Lou was saying, at the WWE Pro channel for exclusive members only. I believe you just recorded one on Rocky with Marvin the Movie Monster filling in.
A special guest host, yes.
So cool.
At a special bonus price with, you don't get a piece of cake with it, however, so. What can I say?
Yeah, exactly.
Let him eat comments. Let him eat super chats.
Let him eat comments. I love it. Yeah, no $26 cakes there. And Greg R., I believe you are correct. George Siegel in the center of that roller coaster poster did play Nick in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. And who is the main actress in Roller Coaster again?
And Helen Hunt plays his daughter in her very first movie.
Which is crazy.
You're talking about the lady in the poster. That's
Susan Strasberg?
The Method. Yeah. Anyway, scion of a famous acting family, but she's hardly in the movie. So she's there so that they can have a girl in the movie, basically.
Right. Which is the best type of casting. But
depends on the girl. If I may say so, it depends on the girl.
That's true. Well, if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. We very much appreciate it. Like you said, Lou has beautifully, eloquently put today, lots of great content coming out on this channel and others. Thank you so much for the donations, the comments, the super chats, everything else. It's been awesome to provide you content here each and every day here on that pod place, T3PO. We are going to be changing the time of the live stream. We'll have more information on that, but for right now, T3PO live is going to take place every single Tuesday at 2:30 p.m.
You know
Eastern.
what we prove?
Mm-hmm.
Screens are not always bad, Universal. This one is good.
This one's pretty good. I do agree. with that sentiment right there.
And sometimes when the people in charge of these big companies do something really dumb, we are both fast and furious to complain about it. So there you go.
That is very true. Very true. We try to keep you updated on all things worth complaining about. I'll put it that way.
But we're never fallen down in our duty to do it. I'm thinking of all those screen rights. But anyway, onwards and outwards. Time to get our boot heels walking out of here.
That's right. I got a flight to catch tomorrow. So
yes,
we will see you later. You're going to be redirected to Mr. H. And have a good day, everyone.